Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Starting with Spider-Man No Return. Chapter 61. Tap the spider logo on the chest. The nano spider quietly falls to the ground and enters the submarine following the big bald head. Yang Ming walked to the coast alone, pretended to rest, and clicked on the virtual interface behind his back. In the picture, the big bald head skillfully came to the control room in the submarine, went to the computer to enter the password, and deleted a series of undercover information. Ding! Discover the secrets of the Osborn Group, and reward a generation of Spider-Man with 3% power. When the system prompt sounded, Yang Ming showed a smile. Tarantula is not really the player behind the scenes, Hydra is the force behind Norman. New power poured into his body, counting the previous 18%. Yang Ming now has 21% of the power of a generation of Spider-Man, about 5 tons of power. No matter which set of battlesuits is increased by this power, it can greatly increase the combat effectiveness. Immediately afterwards, Yang Ming manipulated the nano spider to bring the undercover agent to the other end of the computer and download the undercover information. Beep beep. The computer issued an alarm, and the big bald man's eyes became flustered, thinking that Norman Osborn had set up other firewalls. Shet, Norman, even if he dies, he will cause trouble for us. As soon as the words were finished, the familiar music rang, and the bald man's face became dull. Cannon, his favorite music, is also the ringtone he often uses to set explosion reminders. It shouldn't be such a coincidence, right? Just as this thought came to Dog Wong's head, the trembling of the cabin under his feet made him growl in horror. Do not. Boom. The submarine was engulfed in flames, and Yang Mingyao looked at the explosion on the coast, feeling a little sorry for the nano spiders that were destroyed by the explosion. Fortunately, the information has been downloaded and transferred to the virtual computer. It would be nice to use these undercover information some other day, and make a fortune with braised dantu. Soon, the First World War on Liberty Island caused an uproar all over the world. S.H.I.E.L.D. announced the destruction of the terrorist armed forces headed by Norman Osborn, and promised to recast the Statue of Liberty and restore Liberty Island to its original appearance. But even so, S.H.I.E.L.D. is still under enormous pressure from public opinion. Nick Fury was annoyed by these trivial matters. In addition to realizing the influence of the dark forces on S.H.I.E.L.D., the white-haired Otto's debt collection, and the pressure from politicians to obtain the arc reactor, etc., all made him feel in dire straits. On this day, Yang Ming found Ludentu, exchanged Hydra undercover information for a large sum of extra money, and walked out of Ludentu's office refreshed. How much is a large sum? Well, based on headcount, one undercover information is worth $100 million US. Braised Egg Head agreed, but I still underestimated the Braised Egg Head. This guy only bought the undercover information of the high-level S.H.I.E.L.D., or he may be really poor. After earning money, Yang Ming couldn't wait to come to the laboratory of the white-haired Otto. Doctor, I have money, help me change my battle clothes. Yang Mingshang walked into the door arrogantly, called out the system cards, and turned them into space doors one by one, in which various spider suits floated. The 6 sets of battle suits cannot be stacked and used, but it is no problem to show them off. He discovered very early on that the system suit could be artificially improved, but because he had no money and no technology at that time, it has been delayed until now. After improvement, the battle suit will always maintain the improved state. Even if it is destroyed, the next time the battle suit is summoned, it will be reset and restored to good condition. This is the most basic setting for all system products. Seeing Yang Ming's aura, the white-haired Otto also showed a smile on his face. If you are taken advantage of, you can make another fortune. Yummy, is this your battle suit? How did you do it? He looked carefully at the 6 space gates with a curious expression on his face. Yummy, if you tell me these techniques, I can help you improve the suit for free. Yang Ming curled his lips. You haven't paid me the patent fee for the arc reactor yet, so don't be too greedy. The white-haired Otto smiled awkwardly. Haha, it's okay, just kidding. As for the patent fee, the first batch of fees has been used to make the armor, you know. Stop talking nonsense, improve the suit according to my requirements. Okay, tell me what you think, I'll give it a try. Yang Ming nodded, and came to the first-generation Spider-Man suit, saying, the inner layer of this suit needs to use nanometal technology. It only needs to increase the defense power, and the requirement is that it cannot be easily destroyed by sharp weapons. The material of the first-generation battlesuits is too ordinary, and it is easily damaged in battle, which will affect the combat effectiveness brought by the battlesuits. White-haired Otto nodded. No problem, it's just a simple nanosuit, I can do it with my ability. Then, Yang Ming came to the second-generation battlesuit. This suit also uses nanotechnology to increase defense, but it cannot affect flexibility. The third suit is a nano-metal suit. Yang Ming thought about it, and felt that there was nothing to improve. After all, it was Stark's masterpiece, and it was impossible to add more advanced technology with white-haired Otto's technology, so put away the nano-suit. The fourth suit is the Black Venom Spider suit. Although the Venom Spider suit does not have a venom form, it is weaponized and the ability to heal quickly is also very important. The disadvantage is that it is afraid of fire and sound waves. Doctor, this suit needs to add a sound wave stabilizer and increase the fire resistance of the outer layer. No problem. The fifth set, the Gwen Spider suit. Faced with the strange eyes of the white-haired Otto, Yang Ming touched his nose in embarrassment. Doctor, you know this suit, the style needs to be changed, it can't be too sissy. The same is true for the sixth set, Jessica's suit. The two sets of battle suits are similar in style, and Yang Ming will always feel a deep sense of shame when using these two sets of battle suits. Change, must change, big change, no problem, Yami, only $300 million is required, and you are guaranteed to be satisfied. The white-haired Otto motioned for the middle-aged Otto to come forward, swipe the card. It's so expensive, are you sure you didn't kill me? Yang Ming's cheek twitched, and he swiped his card honestly. By the way, the complete nano armor. The white-haired Otto shook his head and sighed. Yami, the complete design of the nano armor is too complicated, and I can't really replicate it with my ability. Yang Ming had a look of pity. Thinking about it was right. The gap between white-haired Otto and Stark was quite large, and they were not at the same level. It was already very good that white-haired Otto could copy ordinary armor. Hi. Yami, is there anything else? Of course, I want to ask about their situation. Them, female Otto, and Rhino. Lizard Man Peter has been treated by Peter II, and Harry doesn't seem to need much treatment. The remaining mission targets are only the female Otto and the rhinoceros. When it comes to the female Otto, the white-haired Otto is a little embarrassed. The Rhino Man's thick armor was stripped off, and then sent to prison. As for the female, her mechanical arm was cut off, and the control chip was made, and it hasn't been installed yet. Yang Ming's eyes lit up. Great, doctor, I want to install the chip for her by myself, is that okay? The white-haired Otto looked confused, unable to figure out why Yang Ming would do this. Whatever you want, she's in a bad mood, so be careful. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. In the confinement room, Yang Ming knocked the female Otto out the moment she entered the door, and forcibly installed the chip. White-haired Otto. It was really gentle. Ding. The progress of the hidden mission is 5/5, and the big event check-in gallery has been opened for you. A new picture scroll slowly unfolded in front of Yang Ming's eyes. In a world full of guns, in a place of crime, an arms dealer named Tony Stark was kidnapped by terrorist armed forces. He survived the death and tasted the consequences of himself for the first time. He regrets what he has done and wants to save himself even more. So, in the cave where he was imprisoned, he used his innate talent to rub out a cold nuclear fusion reactor with simple parts, and made the first set of Mark armor to escape from the hands of armed forces. After returning to Stark Industries, he learned from the painful experience, intending to make up for his evil consequences and change this evil world. He has this ability. He manufactured more advanced armor, became Iron Man, and saved the world time and time again. Finally, the invasion of the alien biological army made him feel a deep sense of powerlessness, and he was determined to arm the whole world with his armor. With the help of his friend Banner, he created an artificial mechanical life form, Ultron. Aochuang lived up to his expectations and armed the whole world with machines, but it was also out of his control. Human beings maintain absolute order under Ultron's rule. Cold, dead silence, the only order. And Stark, the human being who once created Ultron, he doesn't want the fate of human beings to be like this. In the last scene of the picture scroll, Stark in steel armor stands in the center of the city, his lonely figure stretches infinitely under the setting sun. The sky, the ground, are endless mechanical soldiers, as well as his former comrades in arms. At the same time, the secret base on the seabed, the Hydra high-level meeting. Norman Osborn failed. That's right, and it also exposed the undercover personnel in S.H.I.E.L.D. We suffered heavy losses. Norman, if it wasn't for his assertion, it would only be a matter of time before we master S.H.I.E.L.D. Norman is a talent, but unfortunately he is unlucky. 6 Spider-Man, the chaos of the multiverse brings us together, but also brings a greater threat. Norman's failure is not accidental. Oh, Spider-Man, it's just a bug. Do you have an idea? Of course, what are the natural enemies of bugs? Bird. No, it's a family, an immortal family. As soon as the voice fell, the door of the meeting room opened automatically, and the sound of slow and rhythmic footsteps echoed in the empty meeting room. A young man with long hair and shawl, elegant and calm demeanor, and dressed in a luxurious tuxedo walked into the conference room with his hands behind his back. Everyone, let me introduce myself. I'm Carl, from the Air family. He bowed slightly with a smile on his face, like a noble gentleman from the European Middle Ages. Everyone in the conference room looked curiously at the mysterious man in front of them. The head of the round table, the man behind the chair said, "The Successor family." What's the origin? Carl kept smiling. The Air family, the Morlun family, the deadly nemesis of all multiverse Spider-Man. As long as there is Spider-Man, there will be our Morlun family. Quote. Nemesis. Oh, Norman also said that at the time. Someone sneered. Carl glanced at the man without a hint of annoyance. Peter Parker next to Norman, that is, Tarantula, is a new member of our Moron family. He has only killed 18 Spider-Mons, and his strength is very average. So what, it hasn't been wiped out by Spider-Man. Sir, you seem to have overlooked what I just said. We are a family, which means there are countless members. There are quite a few Spider-Mons, and you may not be able to defeat them. Disdain flashed in Carl's eyes. In terms of numbers, our family members are no less than Spider-Man, and in terms of strength, one-on-one, we can crush Spider-Man. We have already studied their fighting methods thoroughly. Quote. But, this person continued to refute, but the man behind the main table became harsh and interrupted. Okay, Spider-Man is our common enemy, you've talked too much. Sorry, the man didn't dare to say more. Seeing this, Carl smiled with satisfaction. The totem power in Spider-Man is the food of our family, and our goals are the same. This world is a bit weird. I have a hunch that more family members will come to this world in the future, and the end of Spider-Man is coming. Quote. Why don't you do it now? Because of him. Carl waved his hand, and a Spider-Man in a nanometal suit appeared on the virtual computer. His power is very powerful. He is the first Spider-Man to truly kill a member of the Morlun family. I'm not sure. I need the help of more family members. Very well, we have plenty of time. By the way, have you contacted Dr. Miles? The man asked. At the table, a person stood up and said, Drive Miles is missing, and we haven't found his cloning technology. Cloning technology. The man pondered for a while, and a red palm like a skeleton stretched out from behind the chair. Keep looking, his cloning technology is very important to us. Yes. A week later, Yang Ming found Beifa Auto again, experimented with the remanufactured portable armor, and took back the improved system suit of Beifa Auto. Tap the reactor on the chest, and the portable armor quickly returns to the appearance of a metal suitcase. Drive Auto, what do you think of Miles' wound repairing medicine and cloning technology? Yang Ming asked. The white-haired Auto shook his head. I've read the information you sent. The wound repair potion is actually just a special muscle adhesive, which can only be used to transform creatures, that is, the spider monster in your mouth. It doesn't really make the wound faster. Heal. As for cloning technology, there is a lot of chance in this technology. The creatures cloned by this technology will have great defects, short lifespan, and unstable genes. If you want to clone a perfect clone, you can only rely on God bestow luck. Quote. Hearing this, Yang Ming had no hope for Miles' two skills. Well, what a pity. Goodbye, doctor. Where are you going? On business trip. Night falls, top of the Empire State Building. The 5 Spider-Man gather together, looking down at the neon city below. During this time, they often get together. Where did Yami go? I haven't seen him recently. Peter asked curiously. Gwen shook her head. I'm not sure, it seems like I'm studying a new suit. He's become too lazy lately, and it's up to us to help the police catch criminals. By the way, Peter 1, how is Harry doing? Peter asked. The middle-aged Otto was mending the hood in his hands with a needle and thread. Hearing Peter's question, he had a gratified smile on his face. Harry's condition is very good, his nature is not bad, as long as his mood is stable, the Green Goblin venom will not affect him too much. No, that guy is very bad, it wants to kill my old father. Venom interjected. Dude, shut up, this is a chat session between Spider-Man, not including you. Oh, what are you talking about, you are not the real Spider-Man. I'm Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Peter insisted. You're not at all, you imposter. Peter looked at a few people, feeling a little embarrassed. He jumped down from the tall building after saying hello, and disappeared from their sight. Seeing this, Gwen shook her head slightly. Guys, it seems to be very peaceful tonight. I don't need so many Spider-Men. I'll go home and apply a mask first. Bye. Gwen left, and Peter too followed closely behind, keeping up with Gwen and wanting to spend more time together. Peter 2, I'm going home, what are you doing? I invite you to have a drink. Well, it's a good idea. I'll call Yami to join me. Oh no, the two of us are fine. Peter 2, we are impossible, don't take me as that Gwen, I have someone I like. No reason. Among the tall buildings, the flying figure wailed miserably. Looking at the figure that was fading away, the middle-aged Peter smiled all over his face. It's nice to be young. He looked at Jessica, who was silent, and said, I'm going back too, how about you? Jessica's blonde hair was blowing in the wind. She glanced at the neon lights below and said, I still have a while. Okay then, bye. Bye. The middle-aged Otto put on a tattered mask and flew down. After a while, several black figures quietly appeared behind Jessica. Jessica didn't look back, the indifference in her eyes flashed away. Guys, where's our dear father? Myers is dead. One of the shadows behind him spoke, his tone full of hatred, and he handed over a booklet. Here's his manual. Jessica took the manual and looked at it, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. The Mullen family, Spider-Man's mortal enemy, is interesting. Jessica, you. Shadow hesitated. Jessica turned her head. Kane, what do you want to say? Jessica, how long do you want to play? If they know that you are not the real Spider-Man, but a clone of Gwen, they will not accept you. Come back, Kane advised. I don't care about you. But, no buts. Jessica turned her head, her eyes were sharp, and the murderous aura frightened the shadows. Now she is completely different from the sweet girl before. The wind was howling on the top of the building, and after an unknown amount of time, Jessica slowly restrained her momentum, and a softness flashed in her eyes. Don't worry, I will find a way to make up for your genetic defects. Jessica, thank you. Jessica, you are the only perfect clone and we need you. Jessica squeezed out a smile on her face, but she was not very optimistic in her heart. It is too difficult to make up for genetic defects. Have you found Yami? She asked suddenly. No, after coming out of Otto's laboratory, he suddenly disappeared. Well, he will show up, keep watching him. Why must it be him? My gut tells me he's different and he could be our hope. If he finds out who you are, sooner or later he'll find out. As Jessica said, she looked at the gray dimension wall quietly appearing above her head, and frowned suddenly. Jessica, what's wrong with you? I feel someone calling me. Who is it? Yami. At the same time, Peter, who was buying food for Venom in the supermarket, noticed something, turned his head suddenly, and Yang Ming's call came from the gray dimensional wall. Peter, start working. In Parker's apartment, Gwen returned to the room and changed into her pajamas. She just put on the mask, and felt Yang Ming's call. She looked at the wall covered by the gray dimensional wall, her eyes widened. What happened? Yami's call, how did he do it? Magic. The middle-aged Peter, who returned to Otto's laboratory, sensed the call, hesitated for a while, and then stepped into the gray dimension wall. In the noisy street, the lost Peter II intends to return to his rental house to heal alone. No, let's find a job first, and I don't know when I can return to my own world. In fact, I am very happy here. After all, there are many Spider-Man here, and Gwen, I am not alone. Unknowingly, the dimensional wall slowly spread around him, and the calling in his heart woke him up. Yami seems to be in trouble. New York, Brooklyn, corner alley. Yang Ming stepped out of the space door with a metal box in his hand, looked around the quiet and clean alley, and nodded slightly. Is this the world of Iron Man? Sanitation is good. Punch World. Iron Man Multiverse. Task. Find Iron Man. Calling out the system interface, Yang Ming was speechless. This task was not difficult for him at all. Raise your hand to call out the virtual computer. Friday, connect to the internet, search. Before he could finish speaking, the virtual computer flashed a sudden red light. Dee, there is super artificial intelligence in cyberspace. I can't prevent the other party from invading. I suggest cutting off the network. Super artificial intelligence. Ultron. Yang Ming said without hesitation, cut off the network. He has seen part of the Atlas and knows that this world has been ruled by Ultron Mecha. It's better not to provoke this guy for the first time. The purpose of his coming here is to find Tony Stark, and to see if he can get a set of nano armor. Another reason is that the Mullen family appeared in the Spider-Man multiverse, which brought him a sense of crisis. The so-called undead heir family has power far superior to Spider-Man, and the terrorist forces that have devoured countless Spider-Man must be taken seriously. The appearance of the power gem fragments allowed him to improve his strength without relying on the temporary tasks arranged by the system. As long as more gem fragments are found, he can return to the Spider-Man universe and solve the Mullen family in the shortest time. And in this world, there is likely to be another Infinity Stone. Thinking about it, Yang Ming walked out of the alley with his suitcase, only to see that this city is not different. It is as prosperous as another New York. And everyone's face is full of smiles. The big screen in the square, the world in the screen is no longer various advertisements and gossip, but a world without worries, troubles, crimes, and wars. Everything is so beautiful, but in Yang Ming's eyes, this scene made his back feel cold, his scalp numb, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. The smiles on these people's faces were bright, but he couldn't see a trace of anger in their eyes. A stiff smile had already become their instinct, a kind of program. It seems that this is not a human city, but a world of machines. Yes, these people are not machines, they are better than machines. Ultron turned the human beings of the whole world into machines. Big brother, why don't you smile? Are you unhappy? Beside the legs, the brown-haired little girl carefully tugged at the corner of Yang Ming's clothes. Her big watery eyes were full of worry. Big brother, if you are unhappy, they will judge you to reject Ultron's rule, and you will be arrested by them. The little girl smiled hard. Yang Ming felt a twinge in his heart when he saw this, feeling inexplicably sad. He squeezed out a smile, knelt down and touched the little girl's head. Thank you. My name is Yang Ming. What's your name? My name is Sophie. Seeing that Yang Ming finally smiled, the little girl breathed a sigh of relief. Big brother, that's great, you won't be arrested like my father. She lowered her head, her chubby face was full of complexities that did not belong to her age. My father was arrested, I can't find him, he is the greatest father, he will say to me every day. Sophie. At this time, the tall woman resisted the urge to run quickly, looked vigilantly at the cameras around, and came to Yang Ming with a forced smile. Sorry, she's my daughter. Yang Ming nodded, get out of here quickly. He glanced at the flashing red camera in the corner of the wall and noticed something was wrong. Goodbye, Yami. Sophie waved. Well, goodbye, Sophie. The two of them were not far away when a mechanical soldier with red eyes flew from the sky. It floated in midair and emitted infrared rays from its eyes to scan Yang Ming. Beep. Facial recognition failed. Hey, found a suitcase-style lethal weapon. D. With no smile on his face, it is judged as rejecting a beautiful world. Start righteous killing. The mechanical soldier raised his arm and fired a blue beam without hesitation. Boom. The door of space descended in front of him, and the blue light beam was easily ejected and exploded the heads of the mechanical soldiers. The debris scattered all over the sky, and the calm street finally ushered in the riot that had not appeared for a long time. Diddy discovered the rebels, began to kill for justice. The street siren suddenly sounded, the crowd screamed and dispersed, and in the chaos, they finally didn't have to keep smiling. The panic on their faces was undisguised, and even a trace of expectation was hidden. Looking forward to someone who can break Ultron's rule and break this cold order. Just like that man a year ago. Although they didn't want Ultron to fail at the time. Not far away, Sophie was hugged by her mother and quickly moved away from the turmoil. She put her head on her mother's shoulder, looked at the lonely figure, and recalled the vague picture in her dream in her mind. On that day, my father was also alone and never came back. And here, Yang Ming looked at the mechanical army flying towards the sky at high speed, casually threw the suitcase under his feet, and smiled ironically. Just killing. Hey, trampling on freedom arbitrarily, what kind of justice is this? Buzz. The card was inserted into the suitcase, and the metal deformed. Yang Ming pulled up the mechanical arm ring, and the whole armor was attached to the body. The silver mechanical woven bones quickly put on the body. As the red armor closed, the arc reactor on the chest shone with dazzling light. Crack. The metal mask was closed, and the eyes glowed white. Mark 5, a portable armor. Beep beep. Friday, target. Dressed in battle armor, Yang Ming's eyes kept flashing the data of the mechanical soldiers, and at the same time locked on the first mechanical soldiers that flew over. Locked. Boom. The energy in the palm shot out, instantly blasting the incoming mechanical soldiers in midair. In an instant, the crowd was noisy. What? Steel battle armor. Stark is back. No, that's not Stark. Who is he? In the distance, the woman suddenly stopped and turned to look at the familiar metal armor. Tony's battle armor, it's impossible. The woman was stunned, then lost control of her emotions in an instant, and tears could not stop streaming down her cheeks. Sophie wailed loudly, "It's my father's battle armor, my father is back." She stretched out her tender little hand, trying to grab that figure. Sophie, he's not Tony. The woman came back to her senses, and quickly hid in the corner with her daughter in her arms. She couldn't help but probe into the battlefield on the street. In sight, Yang Ming, who was wearing a battle armor, sprayed energy from his feet and rushed into the sky. The arc reactor on his chest exploded with extreme energy, sweeping the air in a circle, and instantly swept down dozens of mechanical soldiers. Ding! Start a temporary mission, and reward 1 gram of vibration gold for every Ultron mechanical soldier eliminated. A system notification sounded in his ears, and Yang Ming frowned. Rewards Spider-Man powers in the Spider-Verse. And in the Iron Man universe, is it rewarding vibration gold? Interesting. Although 1 gram of Zhenjin is rewarded for killing a mechanical soldier, but the accumulation of small amounts will add up, and one day he will be able to wear the nano suit made of Zhenjin. Just as he was about to do a big job, he saw blue electromagnetic energy erupting from the tower in the center of the city, sweeping across the entire city in an instant. Zzzz. The energy device under Yang Ming's feet was disturbed, and the flames were uncertain. The armor could not maintain stability in the air and fell quickly. However, the Aochuang mechanical soldiers were not disturbed by electromagnetic energy, and swooped down in the direction where Yang Ming fell. Boom! Iron armor plowed long ravines in the street, sparks flew everywhere. Crack! The metal mask was opened. Yang Ming waved his hand to disperse the white smoke in front of him, and his body broke away from the battle armor. Looking at the crowd hiding in the surrounding shops, Yang Ming's cheeks twitched, a little embarrassed. Iron armor's pretense failed. Continue. Get up, throw out 5 cards. Summon the Multiverse Avengers. Ohm. The gray dimensional wall swept across the street, and the 5 people in a daze appeared beside Yang Ming immediately. What? Gwen, who was wearing pajamas, screamed first, and trotted to hide behind Yang Ming. Yummy, what is this place? Gwen covered the mask on her face with both hands, trying her best to maintain her image. I'm Spider-Woman, and I can't let people know that Spider-Woman wears a mask too. Yang Ming glanced at Gwen, and pointed to the Ultron robot soldiers who had killed them from above. Sorry for disturbing your rest, let's get to work. The 5 people still didn't understand what was going on, but the mechanical soldiers killed from above forced them to bury their doubts in their hearts and deal with them seriously. Quack quack, Mechanical Legion, haven't fought yet. The venom covered Peter's body with a strange smile, and quickly transformed into the Venom Spider suit. Chong. The black liquid turned into two knives, and the appearance of the black Spider-Man attracted the crowd to exclaim, "Oh, it's a superhero. There are superheroes in this world who fight against Ultron machines. Awesome." Peter was excited, and every time he appeared on stage, the crowd would scream, "I am indeed the most popular Spider-Man." On the side, Peter II and the middle-aged Peter had already put on their masks. Experienced Spider-Man knows that the spider suit must be worn at all times. And Jessica looked up at the blue sky, as if thinking of something. "It doesn't seem like a world." What? Peter didn't hear clearly. "Nothing. Here they come." After Jessica finished speaking, she took the lead in leaping between the tall buildings on the left and right, and the crystal spider silk spread over the sky of several people. Boom. The next moment, several mechanical soldiers swooped down and plunged into the spider silk trap. The mechanical bodies were cut into pieces by the sharp and fine spider silk. Ding. Destroy the mechanical soldiers and reward 1 gram of vibration gold. Ding. Destroy the mechanical soldiers and reward 1 gram of vibration gold. The system prompts kept ringing, and the achievements of the Alliance members can also be counted on Yang Ming. Yes, this trick works. Yang Ming stepped forward and stepped into the door of space with one step. The black and red battle clothes overlapped with his body. Putting on the black hood, the spider logo on Yang Ming's chest glowed red, and the eyes of the mask flickered. Remodeled, Jessica suit. New battle suit. Peter looked at Yang Ming's luminous spider logo and the luminous eyes on the mask, and he couldn't be too envious. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I saw Yang Ming flying around, imitating Jessica's movements, arranging crystal spider silk between the tall buildings, and intercepting a large number of mechanical soldiers at high altitude. Seeing this, Jessica was astonished. Exactly the same ability as hers. DD. In midair, the mechanical soldiers hovered, scanning the criss-crossing crystal spider silk. Red light flashed in their eyes, and they fired dense blue beams downward, breaking the spider silk trap. Bang bang bang. The blue beam fell on the street, and the flames burst. The scorching air waves swept away, and Peter hurriedly swooped to avoid the flames, stretching black spider webs and flying into the narrow alley. There are too many enemies, so we can only fight guerrilla warfare. We separate. I can't resist you leaving first. Yang Ming shouted. How to go? Just as Gwen opened his mouth, the gray dimension wall flashed past, and the figure disappeared instantly. Yang Ming. Although it is a team, they can retreat at any time as long as they want to leave. After all, they are just teammates, not subordinates. Not far away, Jessica was flying high-rise buildings, manipulating the spider silk to cut mechanical soldiers one after another. When she saw Gwen leave, she looked thoughtful. It's too weird here, it may be another multiverse, go back and discuss with Kane first. Thinking of this, she waved her hand and smiled. Yami, I'm sorry, there are too many mechanical soldiers, I have to go back. After finishing speaking, her figure disappeared with the dimension wall, and before leaving, she blew a kiss to Yang Ming. The veins on Yang Ming's forehead popped out. These two inhuman teammates, wait for me to go back and take care of you. Fortunately, the 3 Peters are loyal enough. As soon as he thought of the 3 of them, under the siege of the mechanical soldiers, the middle-aged Peter shot spider silk to wrap the mechanical soldiers in a circle, and violently twisted their heads. Yami, we are a team, I will not abandon you. Yang Ming's face was touched, and he was still reliable for a generation. However, what Jessica said makes sense, let's leave first. After saying a word, the middle-aged Peter disappeared into the dimension wall. Yang Ming. Following the middle-aged Peter, Peter number 2 flexibly shuttled among the mechanical soldiers and flew to Yang Ming's side. Yummy, there are too many, let's go back. The dimensional wall flashed past, and Peter II disappeared. In the alley, the fire continued to spread, and Peter's shout came from it. Yummy, let's go back, it's terrible here. Before he finished speaking, there was no movement in the alley, apparently returning to his own world. Yang Ming. Multiple Avengers. Nonsense. Disband now. The helper who had just arrived ran away in a daze, and Yang Ming couldn't help laughing as he watched the mechanical soldiers pouring in around him. Haha, I'm very happy now, can I stop the beating? He shrugged, with a harmless expression on his face. Well, although they didn't take off the mask, they should be able to feel my sincerity, right? DD. The mechanical soldier pointed at Yang Ming with his weapon, and fired without hesitation. Bang bang bang. With full firepower, Yang Ming threw out the card, and the space gate temporarily resisted the damage. Crack. The door of space was shattered, the Venom Spider battle suit covered the whole body, Yang Ming swept the army with 2 knives, and the blue energy suddenly exploded in the middle. Boom. The flames hit, and the spider logo on the chest of the Venom suit was filled with blue light, and the blue lines spread all over the body, repelling the flames that the suit came into contact with. Ohm. Before the mechanical soldiers pounced on, Yang Ming drilled into the door of space again. Jessica's battle suit covered her body again, and while avoiding the attack of the mechanical soldiers, the crystal spider webs between her fingers kept trembling. Kakaka. Not long after, the dozens of mechanical soldiers trapped by the spider silk trap paused, and as Yang Ming pulled his fists, they burst apart under the cutting of the spider silk trap. Real men never look back to explode. Looking up, seeing the mechanical soldiers still descending from high altitude, Yang Ming shook his head helplessly. He had no choice but to put on the nanometal suit and sneak into the alley to avoid the search of the mechanical soldiers. Friday. Activate the environmental stealth function and block infrared scanning. Okay, sir. Parker Apartments. 5 people rushed to Yang Ming's room, and seeing that the room was empty, they looked at each other. Where's Yami? He didn't come back. Well, it seems so. There are so many mechanical soldiers, why doesn't he come back? I guess Yami won't be coming back for a while. What exactly is there? It's night here, but it's daytime there. I guess it's another world. How did Yami get there? Do not know. Shit, what did we do, leaving Yami there alone? Peter scratched his head and cursed, and the other 4 couldn't help but look at him with weird eyes. Peter, you came back last, why didn't you bring Yami with you? I don't know if we can come back, Yami will not come back. No, we have to find a way to save Yami. Gwen stood up suddenly, looking determined. The project to save Yami is now officially launched. How to save Yami? Peter asked. Wait until he calls us again. Gwen scratched her forehead. Peter. Iron Man Universe, New York. In the messy streets, a group of mechanical soldiers strictly guarded the battle scene, and the exclusive vehicles of S.H.I.E.L.D. drove quickly. Holding a red and blue shield and wearing a uniform of the Stars and Stripes, the handsome soldier got out of the car and came down to the edge of the pit surrounded by a group of mechanical soldiers. Looking at the portable armor lying quietly in the pit, Steve Rogers' face moved slightly. It's Tony's armor. His face was heavy, recalling the Great War a year ago, he sighed and shook his head. It's useless, the current Ultron is impossible to defeat. Waving his hands, Steve ordered the mechanical soldiers, comfort the citizens, liquidate the damage, and repair the streets. Okay, Captain. A group of mechanical soldiers nodded and dispersed to start post-war work. Under the rule of Ultron, countless mechanical soldiers are responsible for order and stability. And if it is a complicated rebel incident, it was set up by Ultron, and the new S.H.I.E.L.D. should deal with it, and the power is only under Ultron. Once the U.S. team, now Steve is one of the leaders of S.H.I.E.L.D. As an official spokesperson, social order and stability are everything. Ultron has eliminated war and maintained absolute stability and order, which is why he is willing to do things for Ultron. It was also his original idea. But now, Steve took a deep breath. Ultron annihilated human thought and freedom, radical approach in exchange for world peace. Whether his choice is right or wrong, he doesn't know. Steve picked up the armor and went back to the car. Drive, let the soldiers send the live video to my work computer. Okay, Captain, are you going back to S.H.I.E.L.D. with the armor? Coulson asked in the driver's seat. After Nick Fury disappeared, he was sent to work under Steve. Steve thought for a while. No, take it home first. But, no problem, I have this authority. Coulson nodded, and drove the vehicle towards the villa area. As one of the leaders of S.H.I.E.L.D., Steve did have this right. Boom. As night fell, the vehicle drove into the villa area, and Steve returned home with his battle armor. Welcome home, Steve. The bionic robot Peggy Carter came over, skillfully took over Steve's shield, and handed him a cup of coffee. Looking at the face in front of him that was exactly the same as in memory, Steve forced a smile on his face. Thank you, Peggy. Those who have passed away can only be remembered in this way. You're welcome, Steve. Peggy smiles brightly and turns to make Steve dinner. And Steve went upstairs with the armor, put the armor on the table, and disassembled the armor with tools clumsily. It won't be long before the battle armor is hidden, and it will be sent to S.H.I.E.L.D. He needs to destroy the information storage in the armor to ensure that Tony's location cannot be found by artificial intelligence. At the same time, he retrieved the live video during the day and watched the scene. The man in the picture, the gate of space, and the ability user who suddenly appeared and disappeared, all these made him feel very troublesome. "Hey, Captain Chow Hip, do you need my help?" Suddenly, a teasing voice sounded from the balcony behind him, and Steve slowly put down the tools in his hand, his eyes serious. Turning around, I saw an Asian young man leaning against the window, yawning lazily. Steve glanced at the scene in the video, eyes wary. He knew this man was dangerous. "Tony asked you to take back the armor?" he asked. Yang Ming shook his head. "Of course not, this armor is mine. But I want to know, where is Tony Stark now, can you tell me?" Quote, "I do not know." Steve stepped back slightly, motioning for Yang Ming to take the armor from the table, not wanting to embarrass him. Yang Ming looked regretful, and stepped forward to restore the battle armor to the suitcase form. "Forgot to take the battle armor before leaving. This is not good, it is very valuable. Captain Chow Hip, I took this thing, you can't explain it, right?" he said suddenly. Hearing this, Steve guessed what the other party was thinking. He moved his muscles and bones, cleared the debris in the room to the corner, and backed away slowly to make room. "It's fine now." He assumed a combat posture. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth raised slightly. "Very well, I won't bully you either." As he said that, the nanometal hidden under the clothes slowly flowed back into the shape of the card. 5 tons of physical strength should be enough. Boom. With a flick of his right arm, the suitcase was thrown at Steve as a weapon. Steve's expression remained unchanged. His rich combat experience allowed him to sideways easily avoid the thrown suitcase, and at the same time raised his leg to kick Yang Ming, who was rushing. Blocking the kick with both arms, Yang Ming grabbed Steve's ankle with his backhand and threw it to the bookshelf beside him. Crack! The bookshelf was smashed by Steve's body, and the scattered books drowned Steve. Yang Ming frowned. "Is this guy so weak?" Boom. As soon as this thought came to his mind, Steve, who was drowned by the books, suddenly jumped up. He covered Yang Ming's sight with the scattered pages of the book, and brought Yang Ming a lot of surprises with a smooth combo. Boom. With the last heavy and powerful whip kick, the strong wind howled. Yang Ming raised his arms to block, only to feel that the opponent's strength increased several times, and his figure couldn't stop falling backwards. Crack. After crushing the floor, Yang Ming stopped with strange eyes. "This guy's combat power really can't look at the data. I feel like you could fight all day." Steve straightened his back. "I think so too. Come again." Yang Ming's legs were slightly bent. He stepped steadily, and stretched out his hand to provoke. Seeing this, Steve's eyes were eager to try. "Bruce Lee. Aha, it is interesting." After Steve finished speaking, there was a crisp sound on the floor under his feet, and his figure rushed forward, blasting out a punch without fancy, as fast as the wind. Boom. When the strong wind hit, Yang Ming stretched out his hand and easily unloaded the opponent's strength. At the same time, he returned an inch of force with his backhand. His gentle movement carried terrifying force and hit Steve's chest. No matter how exaggerated his chest muscles were, he could not resist the force that invaded his body. Strength. After being hit by a punch, Steve's expression changed, his figure kept regressing, and the floor under his feet kept cracking. After finally stopping his figure, his forehead was sweating, and he felt a tight pain in his chest. Subconsciously, he half-kneeled on the ground, gasping for breath. At the door, Peggy held a shield and looked at Steve with a smile. "Steve, you need this." The shield flew. Steve took it with one hand, and looked up at Yang Ming. Yang Ming shrugged. "If you're like this, I won't let you go." The door of space disappeared in a flash, and a new generation of Spider-Man's battle suit covered the body. After being improved by white-haired Otto, the first-generation battlesuits are no longer as inferior as before. The red and blue spider silk patterns are radiant, and they are worth a lot of money at a glance. Steve's eyes were serious. This spider-like suit was very different from the one in the video. After a moment of thought, the ultimate sense of oppression suddenly hit. Steve only had time to raise the shield, and the shield was smashed down with unparalleled strength. Boom! The sound of gold and iron colliding echoed in the room, and all the window glass was shattered. Although the shield made of Zhenjin absorbed most of the force, it still couldn't completely avoid this violent impact, wrapping his body and smashing it directly behind him. The walls are full of dust. The bricks and stones submerged Steve's body. Yongming slowly retracted his fists and smiled with satisfaction. Who said spiders can't beat hips? He glanced at the mechanical beauty at the door, turned around, picked up his suitcase and jumped off the window sill. Steve, how are you? Peggy squatted down and looked at the ashen-faced Steve in the pile of rubble, still smiling gently. Steve got up and coughed, spitting the sand out of his mouth, not paying attention to Peggy's stiff smile. I'm fine. What a strong force. Who is he? DD. The mechanical soldiers rushed over quickly, and a man with a slovenly appearance and a whip was surrounded by soldiers and came to the scene, looking at the embarrassed Steve with bad eyes. Captain, where is Stark's armor? Steve pointed to the chaos in the room. Ivan Vanke, what you see is the answer. Ivan Vanke's face sank. I hope you are telling the truth. Stark's life is mine, so don't try to play tricks. Although the two were at the same level, he always thought that Steve was just a big soldier who couldn't keep up with the times. He never took Steve seriously, and he didn't speak politely. Steve also didn't bother to pay attention to this Avenger, who joined Ultron in order to hunt down Tony. Near the villa area, Yongming changed into a nanosuit and entered an invisible state. Looking at the gorgeous villas around him, he couldn't help grinning. Works under Potato Head, and Steve rents. Working for Ultron, Steve lived in a villa. A good boss makes all the difference. Friday, open the map. D. The route has been planned for you. The virtual map popped up, and Yongming left the villa area as shown on the map. The virtual computer cannot be connected to the internet, and Yongming spent a lot of time nearby before allowing Friday to successfully build the map. In the stealth state, he manipulated the nanosuit to connect the nanometal in the suitcase, turning the suitcase into an invisible state, and the nanometal spider legs extended from behind quickly disappeared into the night. Half an hour later, in Brooklyn, the poverty relief station. In the humble temporary residence, Sophie and her mother are making a simple dinner, an unknown batter. Under Ultron's rule, the families of war criminals do not have to bear responsibility for their family's crimes, but they will be classified as inferior civilians, unable to participate in any formal work, and can only passively receive certain living supplies. As relatives of Iron Man, Virginia Pepper Potts and her daughter Sophie Stark are naturally divided into this area. In addition to receiving relief funds, they can only get a little bit from their mother Pepper's odd jobs at other times. US dollars are used to supplement household expenses. Although life is hard, the mother and daughter always believe that one day Tony will come back. Today, they saw a sliver of hope. Mother, that man's name is Yami. He must be a friend of my father's. With a little batter on her face, Sophie looked up at Pepper. Her beautiful blue eyes were like bright stars, looking forward to her mother, hoping to get the same answer from her mouth. Pepper squeezed out a smile on his preoccupied face, and said, "Yes, Sophie, Tony will be back soon." Boom. The door of the room was pushed open roughly, and the mean-looking middle-aged woman was carrying a bag of supplies in her hand, threw it on the ground, and looked at the mother and daughter mockingly. "Bitcha, Stark's Hunden was killed by the great Lord Ultron a long time ago. He will not come back. Don't imagine that you can return to the rich life before. Stay here honestly and become a part of us." When Pepper saw the woman push the door open, she gritted her teeth and covered Sophie's ears, with a bad expression on her face. "Rusha, I don't seem to have invited you as a guest. If you continue like this, I will notify the soldiers to arrest you." Lu Yisha looked indifferent. "I'm here to deliver supplies to you. It's not a crime. The soldiers won't listen to you." As an employee of the relief station, she is well aware of the legal loopholes formulated by Ultron. Although the mother and daughter are family members of war criminals, they are also protected by the law. Ordinary people dare not break into the house unscrupulously, except for her who takes advantage of her work. Every month she would take advantage of legal loopholes to come here just to mock this high-class person who once enjoyed the glory and wealth, and trample the high-ranking superhero wife and daughter underfoot. This feeling is really great. Pepper also knew that he had no choice but to endure all this passively. If it were her before, it would be impossible to just let it go. But now Tony is not around. Because of Sophie, he needs to take on the responsibility of a mother and protect his daughter. Thank you for the supplies, you can leave. Pepper pointed at the door. Lu Yisha showed a smug smile. You're welcome, I will come again next time. After finishing speaking, she slammed the door and went out, intending to share this matter with her good sister. Not far from the exit, a black shadow suddenly struck. Who are you, Woo Woo? She screamed in panic. Her mouth was covered the next moment, her hands were uncontrollable and she began to point her middle finger at the camera in the corner. Diddy found that Ultron is refusing to rule over human beings, and can be arrested. Boom. Mechanical soldiers flew out from the mechanical library closest to the relief station, and captured Lu Yisha mercilessly. Not far from the window, Pepper happened to see this inexplicable scene. His face was full of confusion. Mother, she was taken away. Won't anyone speak ill of us in the future? Behind Pepper, Sophie poked his head out and asked. Of course not. A man's voice sounded behind the two of them, and Pepper was startled and shielded Sophie behind her. Who? Yang Ming exited the invisible state, hid the nanosuit under his clothes, and waved hello. Hey, you don't need to be nervous. He smiled while carrying the metal suitcase. During the day, when Sophie was crying for his father, Yang Ming had already realized who he had met, so he quietly left a nano spider location on the two of them afterwards, and then turned to follow Steve to retrieve the armor. It's Yami, my father's friend. Sophie clapped her hands happily. Although Pepper was excited, he still maintained enough vigilance. You know Tony. Yang Ming shrugged. Of course, but it's not the Tony you know. What do you mean? Pepper was confused. Yang Ming said with a smile. Introduce myself again. My name is Yami. Bah. Well, my name is Yami, and I come from another parallel world, Earth. What is a parallel world? Sophie looked up at Pepper. Pepper was stunned, and subconsciously explained. The parallel world is, what, the Earth in the parallel world? Her eyes widened and she exclaimed in a low voice. Yes, Pepper, that's what Tony in my world called you, but her daughter's name is not Sophie, but Morgan, which seems to be named after your uncle. Yang Ming said a word. Coupled with the portable mark armor in the opponent's hand, Pepper immediately believed most of it. Yes, my eccentric uncle is called Morgan, and Sophie is the name Tony thought of in his dream. Pepper lowered his defenses, with a complicated look on his face. The Tony of that world, forget it, that's how you got here? She asked. Yang Ming put down his suitcase and said, the multiverse fell into chaos due to unknown reasons. I came to this world through the space-time machine to find another Tony and save the world together. Save the world. Pepper shook his head bitterly. This world has become like this, how can other worlds be saved? Don't worry, with me here, as long as we find Tony, we will defeat Ultron. Yang Ming promised. Seeing Yang Ming's confident face, Pepper had greater hope in his heart. When Sophie heard that he was going to save the world, she looked at Yang Ming with admiration on her face, and the little stars in her eyes were twinkling. Yami, you are amazing. When I grow up, I must. Yang Ming's complexion changed, and he quickly stopped. Wait, stop, I know what you want to say, but please don't say it, they will think I'm a pervert. Sophie scratched his head and said in distress, I want to save the world with my father when I grow up. Why is Yami so perverted? Yang Ming, haha. This, you want to say this, ha ha ha, very good, saving the world is very good. Yang Ming covered his face and thought, why is it different from the plot in Shuangwen, it's so embarrassing. Pepper certainly didn't understand Yang Ming's embarrassment. She asked Sophie to pour water for Yang Ming, and then asked, how do we find Tony? Yang Ming thought for a while, I'm not familiar with Tony in this world, but you are his relatives, so you should be able to guess where he might be. Pepper thought for a while, hesitated before saying, actually, I should be able to guess where Tony will go, but with Sophie by my side, I can't take her on an adventure. Yang Ming's eyes lit up. It's a good thing to have clues, and the matter of finding Tony is left to me. Can you tell me about the world? No internet on Fridays, you know. Quote. Friday. Well, Jarvis is gone. Friday is Tony's newly developed artificial intelligence. Yang Mingsheng was afraid that the other party was still suspicious and had something to hide, so he revealed relevant information again. The next day, Yang Ming got enough information and left the poor relief station without Chili and Sophie. Although it is more likely to find Tony with the two of them, he is not sure about keeping them safe. After all, staying with Spider-Man, well, you know what. Arriving alone in the suburbs of New York, Yang Ming hid in the woods and waited quietly. It was not until the scorching afternoon that a manned aircraft appeared in the distant sky. Wearing steel armor, Yang Ming scanned the aircraft in the distance, saw the Ultron logo engraved on the outer shell of the aircraft, and nodded slightly. This is an aircraft used to exile criminals under Ultron's rule. For some criminals who are not enough to constitute the death penalty, Ultron will send these people to the desolate South Dakota to fend for themselves. Just like Liu Yixia, who was framed by him yesterday, rejecting Ultron's rule is not enough to constitute a death sentence, but exile is inevitable. As for Yang Ming, although he also rejected Ultron, the failure of face recognition and the fact that he was carrying lethal weapons were the reasons why the mechanical soldiers fired mercilessly. The reason for waiting here for the arrival of the exiled aircraft is of course to hijack the plane. According to Pepper, in addition to Liu Yixia being arrested at the relief station yesterday, another technical house named Ned Leeds was arrested by mechanical soldiers on suspicion of endangering network security. Ned Leeds once visited Pepper's house and accidentally revealed that he knew the entrance to Vice City. Unsurprisingly, Ned Leeds, who does not constitute the death penalty, will be exiled to South Dakota today. What Yang Ming had to do was to intercept the aircraft and learn about the entrance of Vice City from Ned Leeds. Sin City is an evil place defined by Ultron, and it is also the underground stronghold where most rebels hide. The stratum is protected by a natural underground magnetic field. The strong magnetic field can avoid Ultron's search, interfere with network operation, and limit the movement of mechanical soldiers. Action. Pepper guessed that Tony Stark was hiding in Vice City. To find Tony, Yang Ming must go to Vice City. Boom. The aircraft roared from far to near, and soon it would pass over Yang Ming's head. Crack. Seeing this, Yang Ming closed the metal mask and sprayed energy from his feet. He flew from the forest into the sky and quickly approached the aircraft. Diddy discovered the forces of the rebel army, and launched a righteous extermination. In the aircraft, the mechanical soldiers did not hesitate to control the aircraft and fired at Yang Ming. Da da da. The muzzle popped out from under the wings of the aircraft, and dense bullets were released. Under normal circumstances, the aircraft transporting criminals will not be equipped with advanced weapons and equipment. Even if the aircraft is hijacked by the rebels, they will not take extreme measures to self-destruct and die together. Criminals who do not constitute the death penalty must not die. This is the world ruled by Ultron. Friday, avoid the fire and get around the craft. Okay, sir. The energy flames under his feet soared, and Yang Ming, who was wearing a battle armor, took a snakeskin move to avoid the strafing of backward weapons, and turned into a parabola and fell to the roof of the aircraft cabin. Zzzz. Fired high-temperature rays from his palm, Yang Ming burned a red circle on the roof of the cabin, punched a gap, and jumped into the cabin through the gap. Boom. The gust of wind poured into the cabin. Just after jumping into the cabin door, Yang Ming stretched out his hand to shoot the high temperature, filling the gap again. Bang bang bang. Taking advantage of this gap, the mechanical soldiers guarding the cabin fired at Yang Ming without hesitation, and the armor burst into flames, and Yang Ming was also carried by this impact and crashed into the auxiliary cabin where the criminals were held next door. Boom. Crashing headlong into the auxiliary cabin, rows of criminals, who were handcuffed and locked up immediately screamed in panic. Yang Ming patted the scorched black mark on his shoulder, got up and scanned the crowd, and immediately noticed Liu Yixia, who was scared to pee. Hi, see you again. He waved hello. There was a trace of confusion on Rush's panicked face. Nani? Haha, it turned out to be a blood problem, no wonder it looks so annoying. Yang Ming muttered, and turned to look at the approaching mechanical soldiers. Kakaka. Several mechanical soldiers raised their mechanical arms and aimed at Yang Ming, their eyes flashed red and continuously fired energy rays. Bang bang bang. Yang Ming threw out the card in his hand, and the door of space easily bounced back the energy rays, knocking down several mechanical soldiers. Ooh, Iron Man beat them. The fat Asian man in the corner raised his fist and shouted excitedly. Ned Leeds. Yang Ming glanced at the fat man in the corner, then looked at the trembling crowd hugging their heads and shrugging helplessly. Well, there's no more loving Iron Man than me. In the world under the rule of Ultron, General crimes such as theft and robbery are enough to constitute a capital crime, let alone a big rape and evil person. The group of criminals who do not constitute the death penalty are usually unlucky. Thinking about it, he turned around and came to the control room, blowing the heads of the mechanical soldiers inside with 2 punches. Friday, teach me how to control the aircraft. Although the nano-metal suit can easily control the aircraft, it is bound to be invaded by the Ultron network. Can only rely on manual operation. Sir, the aircraft control tutorial has started, please follow the steps below. 10 minutes later, the aircraft wobbled and landed slowly from midair. The hatch opened, and everyone stepped out of the aircraft. Ned Leeds immediately followed Yang Ming, chattering non-stop. Mr. Iron Man, I watched the news video of you defeating Ultron soldiers yesterday. Do you know Mr. Stark? Sir, did Mr. Stark give you your armor? Sir, I want to touch your armor, can you? Sir, you seem to have 5 friends in tights, where are they? Gentlemen, stop. Yang Ming waved his hand and restored the battle armor into a metal suitcase with strange eyes. You were arrested by mechanical soldiers not only because of hacking into Ultron network, right? Ned Leeds was surprised by Yang Ming's young face, and then he said with embarrassment on his fat face, haha, I just tried to hack into Ultron network, but before I succeeded, I was arrested for watching your news video and cheering for you. Yang Ming. He looked back at the crowd and said, what about you? I had an argument with my girlfriend, I accidentally threw something out of the window, and I was arrested for endangering public safety. You deserve it, I just couldn't help crying before I got home because of a broken relationship, so I was arrested for refusing Ultron's rule. Me too, when I closed the door when I went out, my hand was pinched by the door. The pain prevented me from keeping smiling. It's even worse for me, watching action movies too loudly and being reported as disturbing by the next door. Woo, no one is worse than me, I just didn't wear a mask because I had a cold. I was the worst, covered my mouth by a pervert, and then forced me to point the middle finger to the monitor. Before Liu Yixia finished speaking, Yang Ming gave the opponent a hand knife and knocked him out. Everyone looked at Yang Ming in confusion, and the doubts in their eyes gradually turned into scrutiny. Yang Ming said without changing his face, she is agitated, I want her to have a good sleep. Everyone suddenly realized, where are we going now, sir? Asked Ned Leeds. Yang Ming glanced at everyone present, looked at each other and said, what do you think? Ned Leeds looked mysterious and suggested in a low voice, sir, I know the entrance to Vice City, we can go there. Defined as criminals by Ultron, the only choice they have left is Sin City except for the desolate South Dakota. Yang Ming nodded, okay, let's go to Vice City, but why is your voice so low? Ned Leeds froze for a moment, sorry, I forgot that this secret doesn't need to be kept secret now. In the night, at the junction of New York and Pennsylvania, the aircraft landed slowly. Sir, Robin Town is just ahead, and that's one of the entrances to Sin City. Ned Leeds walked down the hatch, pointing to the distant lighted lane. Sin City is just a gathering place for human beings who are unwilling to accept the rule of Ultron. There are quite a few of them all over the world. The Sin City underground in Robin Town is not large, but it is enough for them. Yang Ming nodded, and looked up at the slightly flickering flames in the night sky. Tell me the exact location of the entrance first, and you guys leave first. Gentlemen, Ned Leeds followed Yang Ming's gaze and looked at the original flame, knowing that it was the mechanical soldiers chasing him, he nodded sharply. Okay, sir, we're not going to get you into trouble. As he spoke, he left the address and called everyone to Robin Town. Yang Ming glanced at the leaving crowd, narrowing his eyes slightly. For Ultron, the entrance to Sin City should not be difficult to find. Even if mechanical soldiers cannot enter Sin City, Ultron has many ways to destroy these underground strongholds. But why did Ultron keep these underground strongholds? After thinking for a moment, Yang Ming came back to his senses and shook his head. He speculated that perhaps Ultron only wanted to maintain stability on the surface, and the rebels could not really kill them all. After destroying these strongholds, it would be even more difficult for the people of Sin City to run to the ground. There may also be other reasons. After all, artificial intelligence is not human, and he has no way of guessing Ultron's thinking mode. Boom! Soon, dense flames swept across the night sky, and dozens of mechanical soldiers floated in the air and surrounded Yang Ming. Beep. Face recognition. Discover the forces of the rebel army. Start righteous killing. The mechanical arms of a group of mechanical soldiers aimed at Yang Ming, and the blue energy quickly condensed. Yang Ming's expression remained unchanged, and he casually threw the suitcase aside. To deal with you, use this card. With a chuckle, he reached out and pulled out a red and blue card from the spider card bag on his waist. The card pack randomly generates a set of spider suits every day. He just tried to see how it works. Anyway, it will be refreshed if he doesn't use it. Bang bang bang. After the mechanical soldiers condensed energy, blue beams of light shot down from the sky. Yang Ming tapped the card, and the gate of space circled down and collapsed in the blue energy beams that filled the sky. The chrysanthemum spider battle suit is in use. A system notification sounded in his ears, and Yang Ming's expression changed suddenly when he heard the name of this suit. He had an ominous premonition. Boom! The blue energy exploded in the night sky, and the fragments of the space gate splashed. The red and blue battle clothes covered Yang Ming's body, which brought a different feeling to Yang Ming. This time, the battle suit generated by the card pack did not replace the nano-metal suit on the body as in the previous number change, but covered the function of the nano-metal suit, retaining the strength attributes of the 3 generations of Spider-Man, but transformed the auxiliary function of the nano-metal suit into the skill of Chrysanthemum Spider-Man. To put it simply, the random battle clothes generated by the card pack are equivalent to skill cards, and will not bring new attributes to Yang Ming. No wonder the system prompts that the one-time battle suit is only a semi-finished product. In a critical moment, it is impossible to rely on the one-time battle suit to make a comeback. Otherwise, if he casually brushes out a set of transcendent spider suits, Yang Ming will be able to rub Odin with his hands, kick Thanos with his feet, and reach the pinnacle of life. Thinking about it, such a good thing is impossible. After a moment of thought, a violent explosion had already struck, and the spider logo on Yang Ming's chest shimmered. He just raised his hand, intending to launch a spider silk to fly under the aircraft to avoid the invasion of war. But the next moment, his complexion became ugly, and the spider silk could not be shot from his wrist at all, but a certain part had a reaction. Chrysanthemum Spider-Man, you really need chrysanthemums to launch spider webs. Boom! Missing the timing, the blue energy beams continued to shoot from high altitude, and the gravel splashed non-stop. Yang Ming's figure flew out of the sky filled with flames, smashing the aircraft control room hard. The random suit is really unreliable. Yang Ming cursed secretly, leapt out of the broken glass, and stretched out his hand to shoot 5 cards. The gray dimension wall disappeared in a flash, and the spider nest came to this world again. Yummy, you're so weak. Peter was completely naked, with Mary's leopard print underwear hanging on his head, and he was clutching his vitals and yelling. Apparently Yang Ming's call had disturbed someone's good deeds. Sorry, I will reimburse you for medical expenses. Yang Ming scratched his forehead, a little embarrassed. Seeing this, the other 4 turned their heads at the same time, giving Peter time to wake up the venom, and covered his body with black battle clothes. In the sky, dozens of mechanical soldiers began to scan the 5 people who suddenly appeared. Beep. Face recognition. The rebel force that belongs to it started the righteous killing. The blue beam of light struck again, and the 6 scattered to avoid it. This time, the 5 of them left this world without being confused. Crack. Seeing that there were not many bunkers around, Peter's body muscles swelled, he took a horse stance, and turned his palms upwards. Gwen, come on. Gwen stepped on Peter's palm, and Peter threw Gwen into the air. Little cuties, here we come. Gwen flexibly avoided the energy beam in midair, and shot spider silk at the mechanical soldier while shuttled through the dense energy. The moment he got close to the mechanical soldier, he turned over and jumped on the mechanical soldier's shoulder, twisting off the mechanical soldier's head. At the same time, Jessica and Peter II followed closely behind, and were thrown high into the sky by Peter one after another. With the help of spider silk, they flew between the mechanical soldiers, and the spider silk was continuously launched between the mechanical soldiers, and soon formed a giant spider web. Peter 1. On the spider web, Peter number 2 yelled, and a mechanical soldier was thrown down. The middle-aged Peter immediately launched a spider web to pull the falling mechanical soldier to his side. Boom. After blasting his head with a punch, the middle-aged Peter jumped onto the spider web in midair with the help of the spider silk shot by Peter II, destroying the mechanical soldiers wantonly. Beep. The target cannot be locked. Under the interference of the spider web, a group of mechanical soldiers could not lock the target. The energy of the mechanical arm quickly converged, and they used the mechanical body to fight against it. However, with Spider-Man's physical attributes, Gwen, who is the weakest, can easily break the mechanical soldier's neck. Without the threat of long-range weapons, the mechanical soldier can only be played around by a few people and has to land on the ground. Ding. Destroy the mechanical soldiers and reward 1 gram of vibration gold. Ding. Destroy the mechanical soldiers and reward 1 gram of vibration gold. The system prompts kept ringing, and a mechanical soldier was thrown by the spider silk. Yang Ming disassembled it casually, then silently picked up the armor and retreated to the edge of the battlefield, looking at the 5 people who cooperated tacitly on the scene. Haha, not bad, more and more like a team. From the looks of it, he didn't need to make a move at all. Yummy, do you have a new suit? Peter broke the mechanical soldier's neck with a punch, and looked back at Yang Ming. Yang Ming's cheeks twitched. Yeah, let me borrow it with you some other day. Okay, whoever uses the chrysanthemum battle suit dies. Boom. Gwen kicked the mechanical soldier to Yang Ming's feet, clapped his palms, and hummed with his hands on his hips. We need an explanation. What is this place? Yang Ming calmly stepped on the mechanical soldiers at his feet, shrugged and said with a smile, you should have guessed it, this is another universe. Is there a Spider-Man in this universe? Jessica flew forward, pulling the crystal spider silk with her 10 fingers, and several mechanical soldiers were immediately cut into scrap iron. Yang Ming shook his head. There shouldn't be any before, but now there are. He pointed to several people. Oh, a world without Spider-Man, this is simply unbelievable. Peter II shuttled among the mechanical soldiers, shouting excitedly from time to time. I want to know, what are these things? At this moment, the middle-aged boy asked, turning his head slightly to avoid the blue energy that shot from behind him. Boom. The energy beam exploded in front of him, and the flying gravel rubbed against his battle suit to create sparks. Apparently, the white-haired Otto also upgraded his battle suit. Yang Ming thought for a while and said, these things are Ultron mechanical soldiers. It's hard to explain in a short time. I can take you to interesting places later. No, I'll go back later, Mary is still waiting for me. Peter carefully put away Mary's underwear, not at all interested in Yang Ming's suggestion. What could be more fun than being shy with Mary? I still have to go to class, I don't have time. Gwen said. I don't have time either. I still have to go to work. Peter number 3 shook his head. The middle-aged Peter looked at a few people, stroked his chin stubble and said, well, I'm not free either, the doctor introduced me to a blind date. Yang Ming. It is really luck to be able to successfully summon a few people to this world this time. Hey, Yami, I should be able to play with you here. Jessica flew over, put her hand on Yang Ming's shoulder, and flicked her hair lightly. Yang Ming stared at the corner of each other's brows curiously. Your brow nails. How about the new brow nails, isn't it cool? Jessica said with a smug face. No, it's unorthodox. What is non-mainstream? That's, well, it means something different. Yummy, I'm different from the beginning. The two chatted and gradually walked away. Gwen turned sideways to avoid the mechanical soldiers attacking behind him, gritted his teeth and shouted, hey, where are you going? After speaking, he punched the mechanical soldier's neck bitterly. Yang Ming didn't look back and waved. You guys go back after the fight, and I'll surprise you next time I come over. Hearing this, the 4 of them glanced at the remaining mechanical soldiers on the battlefield and looked at each other. Have we been bought by surprise? Obviously not, we were treated as free labor by Yami. Yami. By the way, Yami has dividends in the doctor's company, and we can charge him. It's not good, we are all friends. Friends, yes, off for friends. A good idea, it should be more than the salary of the newspaper. I don't have to go to work anymore. Me too, I have money to treat my blind date to dinner. I want to buy a lot of masks. Yang Ming, who had just walked not far away, heard the discussion of several people and dismissed it. Cut. How high is Spider-Man's appearance fee? Sell 1 gram of vibration gold and earn it back in minutes. Yummy, where are we going now? Jessica asked beside her. Yang Ming pointed to the small town in the distance. Let's go there. Okay, let's go. Jessica sent spider webs flying across the treetops. Wait, I need to change into a serious suit. As Yang Ming said, he tore off the battle clothes on his body without mercy. He doesn't need this extremely tasteless spider suit. Without the chrysanthemum battle suit on his body, Yang Ming subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Is there really such a Spider-Man in the multiverse? What chrysanthemum Spider-Man? Social death Spider-Man is more appropriate. Okay, let's go. The two shot spider silk through the jungle, and soon came to the intersection of Robin Town. Yang Ming flew to the ground, tapped the spider logo on his chest, and the nanometal quickly retracted under his clothes. Seeing this, Jessica stared straight at Yang Ming's eyes. See what I do? Yang Ming looked puzzled. Yummy, I only have the battle suit, I don't have any other clothes. Hearing this, Yang Ming's eyes lit up. You said you didn't have, this, haha, it doesn't matter, it's fine to wear a battle suit, it's fine without a mask, not many people in this world know about Spider-Man. Quote. Jessica thought for a while, nodded and said, that's right. As he spoke, he stuffed the mask into Yang Ming's pocket casually, then walked briskly into the town with his hands behind his back. Yummy, what are you thinking? Come in. She turned her head and smiled. Oh, I'll come in right away, don't worry. Yang Ming took out the mask with a look of disgust, patted the dust on it, and quickly followed Jessica. In the middle of the night, Yang Ming activated the signal jammer in the suit to interfere with the nearby monitoring equipment, and the two walked into the town in peace. There are few pedestrians on the streets of the small town, and occasionally a drunk staggers into the trash can on the street, and will soon be arrested by enthusiastic mechanical soldiers. After avoiding the mechanical soldiers, Jessica looked curiously at the quiet town buildings, her face full of inexplicable longing. Seeing this, Yang Ming casually asked, why, do you like this place? No, it's just that this place is different from New York, and I want to take a closer look. There are also many small towns in the suburbs of New York. Have you ever been there? Jessica's expression darkened. She shook her head and said, no, in my short life, I'm not allowed to spend extra time on having fun. The father in the memory was very strict with her, teaching her to fight, use her own power, and learn the human way of life, and also made her lonely have many brothers and sisters. These brothers and sisters, like her, have no childhood of their own, and their newborn state is an adult body. But the difference is that they are born with the instinct to fight, their minds are full of tyranny and bloodthirsty, their emotions are very unstable, and their brothers and sisters often disappear for no reason. One day, she couldn't help but peeked into her father's laboratory. He found his father roaring and roaring. Why their genes are exactly the same, why Gwen is Spider-Woman? No, Gwen is mine, Jessica is mine too. The gene collapsed, what went wrong? No, just one perfect clone is not enough, I want more perfect clones, I want stronger power. Failed test subjects are not eligible to survive. Go to hell, go to hell. Only then did she know that she was just a substitute, a tool, a test product, to satisfy her ambition and conquer the world. Miles, not her father, does not qualify to be her father. She was afraid that she would also become a failed experiment. She wanted to survive and see this unknown world. She imagined that one day she would not have to stay in the training room to practice and fight boringly every day, and would not have to watch her brothers and sisters disappear one by one every day, and would not have to worry about one day angering her father and being cruelly killed. So, she made a decision. Unite the power of brothers and sisters, get out of Miles' control, and live for yourself. She learns to hide her emotions and has a happy smile on her face every day. She heard that a woman's smile is the easiest to gain the favor of others and make others let go of their vigilance. Finally, she successfully paralyzed Miles, gained Miles' trust, obtained all the data in the laboratory, and found a way to get out of control. That day, Miles looked at his daughter with a bright smile in disbelief. He was locked in the cage he made and died in the hands of the killing machine he made. She is finally free. She wants to see the Spider-Woman Gwen in Miles' mouth, wants to experience the love that everyone yearns for but doesn't seem to exist, wants to travel around the world, and wants to be a normal human being. But she can't, her siblings need her. For failed test products, life is the biggest flaw. She doesn't want to live alone, she wants everyone to live together. She paid attention to everything about Gwen, and also noticed the people around Gwen. It's nice to have friends, and I want to have friends too. Huh, this man named Yang Ming is also Spider-Man, he is so powerful and mysterious, he will definitely help us. Very happy, I got to know him, and he invited me to join his team. His name is Yang Ming, and I prefer to call him Yami, because that's what other people call him, and I don't want to be different from others. He likes to tell jokes, although I can't understand. Hey, Jessica, what are you doing in a daze? Yang Ming stretched out his hand and shook Jessica's eyes, interrupting Jessica's thoughts. Jessica came back to her senses, and quickly turned around and put on the hood. Oh, it's nothing, where is the entrance you mentioned, let's go there quickly. She changed the subject. Yang Ming suddenly thought of something, took out a photo and handed it to the other party. Take it. Jessica subconsciously took the photo, looked at her smiling side face in the photo, and couldn't help but tremble in her heart. This is a gift from a friend. Are you friends? Jessica froze for a moment, then smiled happily. Yang Ming also showed a happy smile. Finally someone knows how to appreciate my photography skills. Chapter 71. Robin Town, a small bar in a dark alley. The two walked into the bar, only to see that there were very few customers, and the waiter at the bar was meticulously wiping the clean wine glasses. Seeing someone enter the door, the waiter didn't look up and said, "It's almost closing time, let's go." "Hi, my name is Yang Ming, you should have met." Yang Ming put the wanted newspaper on the bar. The waiter glanced at the information in the newspaper, his face changed slightly. "Are you the new Iron Man?" The waiter's eyes lit up with excitement. Yang Ming shook his head. "No, Tony is still there, he is." The waiter sorted out his emotions, smiled politely. "Sorry, sir, I was rude just now." "It's okay, take me to the underground city." Yang Ming said straight to the point. The waiter didn't care about the customers in the shop. He looked at Jessica behind Yang Ming, nodded and said, "Okay, follow me." With that said, he walked towards the passage at the corner of the bar. Yang Ming and Jessica looked at each other and raised their heels. "Excuse me, did a group of people come to look for the entrance just now?" Yang Ming asked. The waiter replied, "Yes, but many of them were captured by surveillance cameras and captured by mechanical soldiers. For some people, the location of the entrance is not a secret. The mechanical soldiers will not rush into the entrance, and they will not prevent the mechanical soldiers from coming to the bar to arrest people. Both sides tacitly maintain a balance point." Hearing this, Yang Ming didn't ask any more questions. Whether they can escape the pursuit, ordinary people can only rely on luck. The whole world is under the rule of Ultron, and this small town is no exception. He also activated signal interference to avoid the monitoring equipment. Follow the waiter into the entrance, the lights are getting dimmer, and a simple elevator comes into view. "Sir, this is it." The waiter hesitated and said, "Sir, the rebel forces here are controlled by Adrian Toombs, and he should have no kindness towards you who have steel armor." Yang Ming frowned. "Adrian Toombs. His nickname is Vulture." "Yes, sir, you have heard of him. Of course, the guy who caused the company to go bankrupt because of Tony has a bit of an impression. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, Adrian Toombs originally ran an item recycling company in New York. He is also the father of Spider-Man Peter Parker's crush, Liz Toombs. After the Battle of New York, he exhausted all his property to obtain official authorization to recycle Chidori waste, and wanted to make a fortune by researching alien technology, but because of the damage control, led by Tony Stark's Stark Industries, the establishment of the department led to the official tearing up of the licensing contract, and he also faced bankruptcy. So he began to hate the Avengers, and hid the recycled Chidori waste, and began to use the Chidori waste to develop high-tech weapons to make money. Afterwards, he spent 8 years secretly stealing high-tech scraps and various equipment from the Avengers after the war from the transport vehicles of the Damage Control Department countless times, and used them to develop weapons. During this period, he developed a set of Vulture flight suits, as a tool of theft. 8 years later, Little Spider accidentally caught his subordinates selling weapons, so he was targeted by the FBI and Iron Man, and Toombs' team faced disbandment. For this reason, Toombs decided to take the risk and planned to secretly hijack the Avengers transport plane to save his business, but was finally defeated by the Little Spider and sent to prison. Little Spider also lost love because he sent his future father-in-law to prison. And Yang Ming learned from Xiaojiao that this world did not experience the New York War, and that it was another alien army that invaded the Earth, and its alien weapons were slightly inferior to Chitauri technology. So Toombs' vulture flight suit should not be more powerful than the one in the movie. There is no Spider-Man in this world, but Vulture still has to face the troubles brought by Spider-Man, which can be said to be a disaster. Thinking about it, Yang Ming patted the waiter on the shoulder and handed him a few dollars. Thank you for reminding me, goodbye. Goodbye, sir, press the red button. Under the gaze of the waiter, Yang Ming and Jessica walked into the simple elevator. Da da da, press the button, and the elevator makes a noisy sound and quickly descends. After a while, the elevator violently stopped falling, and the letter A belonging to the Avengers logo shone brightly in the passageway. At the entrance of the passage, two armed men held guns and pointed to the metal suitcase in Yang Ming's hand. If you want to enter the underground city, you have to hand in everything except clothes. The other person locked his eyes on Jessica and couldn't help rubbing his hands and stepped forward. Hey beautiful girl, I think you're carrying an assault weapon, I need to search. Before the other party put his hand on his shoulder, Jessica moved quickly and broke the other party's fingers in an instant, and the screams echoed in the passageway. Seeing this, the other person was about to raise his gun and yell at him, but was kicked unconscious by Jessica. Looking at the innocent Jessica, Yang Ming shrugged and said with a smile, finally this kind of thing happened, you should let me show it. Jessica flicked her hair, you have a chance now. I know. Yang Ming knocked out the screaming guy with his backhand, and the two walked into the passage together. Soon, a sudden siren sounded from the other end of the passage, and a large number of armed men rushed over with guns. Stop, put down your weapons. Jack, they don't seem to have any weapons. Shut up, I said yes. Okay, put down your weapon and hold your head. Hands up. A large number of armed men gathered in the passage, and Yang Ming couldn't help asking when he saw this. Hey guys, do you want to hug your head or put your hands up? Shut up and hold your head. Hands up. Shet, if I say hug my head, I will hug my head. Okay, hold your head. Yang Ming spread his hands, can I meet your boss? The bearded man shouted, what are you looking for with our boss? Of course it's business. Yang Ming raised his suitcase as a signal, and then took out a wad of US dollars from his arms and threw it to the other party. After getting the US dollars, the bearded face greedily counted the banknotes, and the hostility on his face instantly turned into enthusiasm. Haha, my own people, put down your guns. Jack, he hit our man. Shut up, people gave you money. Oh, under the leadership of Jack and others, Yang Ming and the others walked out of the passage, and their eyes suddenly became clear. In the huge underground world, rusted containers are piled up in disorder to form buildings for people to live in. Pedestrians commute to and from the narrow streets and alleys. There are countless vendors selling weapons. Yang Ming frowned, is this Sin City? On the side, Jack laughed and said, this is Toombs territory, free enough to have whatever you want, unlike other underground cities that have so many rules and regulations. Yang Ming was thoughtful, very well, take me to see Toombs. No, I'm already here. The crowd dispersed, and a bald old man with a ferocious face came slowly, surrounded by armed men, staring fiercely at the suitcase in Yang Ming's hand. You're the new Iron Man messing around in New York, he said. Yang Ming looked at the bald old man in front of him, and the corner of his mouth twitched. It turned out to be another version of the Vulture. Toombs in the movie is half bald at most, but the Toombs in front of him is really bald, with no hair left. As the saying goes, the more bald the stronger. Yang Ming felt that he should treat it with caution. That's right, I did have a scene in New York, and I came here to make a deal with you. He laughed. Toombs' face was gloomy, if you want to do business, you can, first give me Stark's armor. Yang Ming's smile restrained, the battle armor is mine, you will make me very embarrassed. HMPH, I don't care, in my territory, I don't want to see anything about Stark, especially the armor. Toombs looked fiercely and raised his hand slightly. As long as the other party refused him, he would immediately let his subordinates open fire. What he hated most in his life were capitalists. At the beginning, the research on the vulture flight suit lacked funds, and a capitalist provided him with money and resources. Unexpectedly, the guy framed him in the end and sent him to prison, intending to steal his vulture flight suit. He used the vulture flight suit to escape from prison and found that the capitalist was Tony Stark's partner. It must be that Tony Stark was jealous of my talent and did not allow a second, Iron Man, to appear in the world. He was afraid that his status would be taken away by me, so he secretly sent someone to steal my vulture flight suit. Capitalists, none of them are good people. All the things I have encountered in these years, I still gnash my teeth when I think about it now. Seeing Tomb's eyes that seemed to be eating people, Yang Ming touched his chin, and then pointed to the weapon in Jack's hand beside him. Well, Mr. Toombs, the gun in this gentleman's hand, seems to be produced by Stark Industries. Jack, boss, you know me. I hate capitalists as much as you do. This must be a misunderstanding. Jack quickly explained. Jack took the lead, and the other armed men also followed to check the weapons in their hands. Boss, you know me well. My weapon was issued by the captain. Boss, you know me well, I haven't read a book. Boss, you know me well. I'm Ah San, and I don't understand English. Boss, you know me, I'm just a child. Boss, you know me well, I don't have a gun in my bullet. Everyone rushed to explain in front of Toombs with a guilty look on their faces, only to see that Toombs' face became darker and darker, and gradually turned livid. Shut up, you idiots. Toombs tapped the wrist device, and the green tights swelled suddenly, and the device behind the flight suit stretched out huge green biomechanical wings, setting off gusts of wind and blowing away the surrounding men. Guy, I don't think you know how I got my name. Toombs' face was stern, and the anti-gravity wings on his back waved impressively, taking his body into the air, turning into a humanoid bird and rushing towards Yang Ming. Before people arrived, the bitter wind had already howled, blowing up gusts of wind and sand and ravaging the streets. Pedestrians retreated in fear, fearing that they would not be able to avoid it. Oh, it's kind of interesting. Yang Ming casually threw the metal suitcase to Jessica, and just as he was about to make a move, a green shadow rushed to him in the blink of an eye. Die. Toombs grinned grinningly, his 5 fingers popped out with sharp claws, and his right arm turned into an afterimage and swung towards Yang Ming's head as swiftly as the wind. He seemed to be able to foresee the end of Yang Ming's head blooming. Ding! The next moment, the sound of gold and iron colliding echoed on the scene, and Toombs' grin suddenly became stiff. I saw Yang Ming raised his hand to block with a calm face, and the nanometal covering his arm collided with Toombs' sharp claws to produce orange sparks. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, and he sneered, Dude, although you are bald enough, you are not very strong. After speaking, the nanometal covering the arms quickly spread throughout the body, the red, blue and gold spider logo spread on the chest, and the eyes on the nano mask glowed with azure blue light. Boom! The air burst, and Yang Ming punched Toombs' chest with a backhand. Under the muffled sound, the air was distorted faintly. Toombs' body flew out like a cannonball, smashed into the container house, and was submerged by countless debris. After defeating Toombs with one punch, everyone was shocked, and their eyes gradually changed. But Yang Ming frowned, looking thoughtful. Strange, although the opponents I met in this world are not many, but until now it has only triggered a temporary mission. Is the main theme of this world is to defeat Ultron? Shaking his head, Yang Ming stopped thinking about it. Even if the temporary task can be triggered, it is estimated that the reward for defeating the Vulture is Genjin. Looking at Toombs, the pile of debris moved slightly. Toombs stood up reluctantly, clutching his chest, gasping for breath, and the ferocity in his eyes seemed to be even more fierce than before. Yang Ming stretched his waist, practiced jumping rope on the spot, and didn't care about the other party's cruelty. Everyone held their breath subconsciously, and some looked forward to the battle between the two. After a long time, Toombs took a deep breath, and his ferocious expression turned into a kind smile in an instant. Haha, buddy, what did you say just now? Talk about business, right? It's my pleasure. As soon as these words came out, everyone staggered and almost fell to the ground. What was the expectation just now? Must be an illusion. Yang Ming threw the spider silk at his feet, tapped the spider logo on his chest, and the nanometal quickly retracted under the clothes. Very well, it seems that Mr. Toombs is quite reasonable. Haha, of course, in business, you must be hospitable. I have always told them that if you are a person and do things clearly, you must be reasonable. Quote. Toombs looked at the group of subordinates, who nodded like chickens chopping rice. Yes, yes, the boss is very reasonable every day. Yes, sir, doing business with our boss will definitely satisfy you. A group of subordinates gave way one after another, and Toombs warmly invited Yang Ming to walk to his base. Behind her, Jessica nodded thoughtfully. It turns out that this is reasonable, I understand. Vulture Base, a steel castle. In the lobby of the warehouse renovation, Toombs asked someone to pour a cup of coffee for the two, and then said to Yang Ming, who was sitting on the sofa. This gentleman, my name is Yang Ming. Okay, Mr. Yami, let's talk about our business. Yang Ming nodded, pointed to the metal suitcase in Jessica's hand and said, the battle armor is damaged, I need to borrow your tools to repair it. He was bombarded several times by the mechanical soldier's energy gun, and the shell of the battle armor was slightly damaged. As long as he has tools, he will repair it by himself. Except for special enemies, you may need to reduce the number of times you use Warframe in the future. For him, the combat power brought by the battle armor is very ordinary. The reason why I brought a battle armor to this world is nothing more than the need for the assistance of a battle armor on certain occasions. Otherwise, few people except Tony could afford such a gold-swallowing beast. Yang Ming's request was very simple, and Toombs did not refuse. I have a complete set of repair tools here, and Mr. Yami can use them at will. Yang Ming nodded. There is one more thing about Tony Stark. Speaking of Tony, Toombs' eyes flashed a fierce light, and then turned into deep helplessness. With the force of that punch, he still has a faint pain in his chest, and he still has lingering fears in his heart. The guy in front of me whose origin is unknown and who likes to wear a spider web metal battlesuit is too scary, so let's just send him away. Thinking of this, he squeezed out a smile and said, don't worry, Mr. Yami, business is business, and I won't mix any personal emotions. Please trust my professional ethics. Yang Ming rolled his eyes in his heart. This guy was a good person before he was blackened, but he has no integrity after blackening. Mr. Toombs, I think you are mistaken. The battle armor in my hand is a secret weapon that I specially made to deal with Tony Stark. In fact, I am not familiar with him. Quote. Yang Ming seemed to have thought of something bad, and his expression was gloomy. I must find Tony and kill him. Seeing this, Toombs breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time faintly became excited. Mr. Yami is also Stark's enemy. Of course, my company went bankrupt because of him, of course he is my enemy. Yang Ming gritted his teeth. See people talking, see ghosts talking. If Toombs wants to find Tony with all his heart, of course there must be a reason that the other party is satisfied with. If force is used to force the other party, this guy probably will not work hard, so he will definitely be perfunctory. Mr. Toombs, you are very powerful, you must help me find Tony Stark. Yang Ming looked sincerely. Toombs patted his chest and laughed. Don't worry, I will fully cooperate with Mr. Yami. But Mr. Yami, Stark has been missing for a year, and I am not sure about finding him. Maybe we can cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. Quote. S.H.I.E.L.D., are you connected? Yang Ming frowned. Toombs explained. Mr. Yami probably doesn't know that S.H.I.E.L.D. announced that we are the rebels, but in fact we have interests in private. Human beings are responsible for this department of S.H.I.E.L.D. They are not like those cold mechanical soldiers. As long as they are human, they will be greedy for profit. In addition to helping them smuggle some contraband, we will send out a group of people every once in a while to let them complete the tasks assigned by Ultron. And they guarantee not to attack the underground city, and even provide protection for the underground city. Quote. Yang Ming stroked his chin, thoughtful. So it is. Mr. Yami, if we have the intelligence blessing from S.H.I.E.L.D., we should be able to find Stark more easily. Toombs said. Yang Ming shook his head. No, if S.H.I.E.L.D. could find Tony, he would have already caught him. It's impossible to wait until now. Mr. Yami, you are wrong. Toombs grinned. S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't find Stark because several S.H.I.E.L.D. leaders headed by Steve deliberately hid Stark's news. A year ago, Ultron defeated Stark, and since then he has seldom shown up, and it can only be S.H.I.E.L.D. to deal with the Stark incident. Steve and the others were Stark's former comrades in arms. Stark was able to survive the defeat because of their secret interference. And other S.H.I.E.L.D. leaders are more or less hostile to Stark, especially Wanda the Witch, whose hatred for Stark is well known. As long as you unite their forces and successfully suppress Steve and the others, you will definitely get news from Stark. Quote. Yang Ming thought deeply, then quickly shook his head and said, it still doesn't work. With Ultron in charge, the civil strife in S.H.I.E.L.D. will not be too serious, and the expected effect will not be achieved at all. The last time he sneaked into Captain Hip's villa, he found that Steve had been monitored, not only by bionic robots but also by other S.H.I.E.L.D. leaders. Steve may also know this, so the opponent didn't pester him in that battle. Otherwise, Yang Ming wouldn't have left the villa so easily with this guy's unbeatable Xiaoqiang attribute. Steve was in an embarrassing situation. Even if he knew the news about Tony, he would not fully believe Yang Ming, let alone leave any substantive clues. Therefore, he had a hunch that Tony was hiding in one of the Sin cities. Mr. Toombs, tell me all the entrances to Vice City you know. All, yes. Well, it seems that Stark really angered you and made you so eager to seek revenge from him. Toombs told Yang Ming about the entries he knew, and Yang Ming asked Friday to enter the database and screen them one by one. Screening complete, 56 possible results found. The virtual map flashes red dots, and Yang Ming clicks on the red dots one after another to scan the location information. Hey, the Sin City where James Rhodes is located. Yang Ming's heart moved. James Rhodes, the official Air Force colonel and one of Iron Man Tony Stark's best friends. James Rhodes helped Iron Man repel the enemy. In order to thank him, Tony gave him a set of armor, and improved the attack system of this armor with the official assistance, and then became a war machine to fight side by side with Iron Man, join the Avengers. Will Tony, Mr. Yami, these locations have been searched by S.H.I.E.L.D. privately. Toombs said. Not only James Rhodes, the War Machine, but also Clint Barton, the Eagle Eye, and Robert Bruce Banner, the Hulk. The Sin City they are in has been searched by agents sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. No trace of Stark was found. Yang Ming looked at the other party in surprise. Your intelligence work is very good. Thank you for the compliment. As soon as Toombs finished speaking, Jack walked into the hall and whispered in Toombs' ear, Boss, Ivan Vanki has brought someone here. He wants to find Mr. Yami. Understood. Toombs looked at Yang Ming with his expression unchanged. Mr. Yami, someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. is here, but don't worry, with me here, your misunderstanding will be resolved. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth raised slightly. He got up and smiled. Very well, please Mr. Toombs. No problem, everyone is our own, please follow me. Toombs left first, and Yang Ming and Jessica looked at each other, walking and talking. Did you hear clearly? Jessica nodded. Who is Ivan Vanki? Tony's enemy. Are we going to join forces with them? No, Ivan Vanki is not as gullible as Toombs, he won't believe us. What should we do? Yang Ming shrugged. What else can I do? The armor will be repaired later, of course I'm running away now. As he said that, he dodged and disappeared through the door. Hey, wait for me. Jessica looked around and quickly jumped onto the container. Boss, Mr. Yami is gone. Soon, after hearing Jack's report, Toombs realized it later and cursed. I was deceived by them, they are not Tony's enemies. In the underground city full of containers, the two flew one after another, stopping at a high place to look down at the hazy city below. Yami, where are we going? Jessica asked. Yang Ming stretched out his hand, and a small spider drone flew from the air and landed on the palm of his hand. Putting the drone into the chest of the battlesuit, Yang Ming clicked on the virtual computer. I found another exit. He pointed to the dark place ahead. Jessica nodded. Then let's go. And many more. Yang Ming pointed to the direction behind him, and said, let's go back to the entrance we came to just now, and go out from there. Predict the opponent's prediction. This trick is learned from the novel. Why? Jessica looked puzzled. They just came from. Halfway through the conversation, she realized that her eyes were full of adoring little stars. Oh, Yami, you are so smart. She put her hands on her chest, and leaned her head on Yang Ming's shoulder. Yang Ming rolled his eyes and pushed the other party away. Come on, this is another price. Yami, you seem to have told this joke many times. I know. Can you explain what it means? You don't know what it means. Do not know. Okay, come here, let me explain to you. The two turned around and flew towards the entrance, avoiding the armor driven by a group of SHIELD agents on the way, and arrived at the previous entrance smoothly. At the entrance of the passage, Yang Ming casually knocked out the two armed men, walked into the passage, grinned at Jessica and said, "Look, I just said that this wave of predictions is very powerful." Jessica was expressionless, pointing at the tall figure at the end of the passage, with drooping eyelids, said, "Yami, I think you guessed wrong, there is another one here." "It's just one, there's nothing big, nothing." Yang Ming looked at the end of the passage, and saw that the letter A of the Avengers logo was still emitting white light. A blonde girl in a dark red tight battle suit with an extremely indescribable figure stopped in the white light. Her whole body was filled with a strange scarlet energy, and a dangerous aura rushed towards her face. Well, she should have a hard time walking. Yang Ming rubbed his chin and muttered. "It may be squeezed out," Jessica said quietly. Yang Ming turned around and glared at Jessica. "What do children know? Squeezing is also a skill. How can you not squeeze?" "Why can't? Squeeze what to squeeze? Squeeze me if you have the ability." Before the words were finished, the crimson energy suddenly spread on a large scale, and the entire passage trembled slightly. The spider sensor interrupted the nonsense of the two, telling them how dangerous the crimson energy was. "Withdraw. Wait for me." The two turned over and retreated, shooting spider silk and quickly leaping up to the height of the container. Boom! Dangerous crimson energy gushed out from the entrance of the passage, and all the objects around the passage seemed to be trembling and floating in the air. The terrifying energy swept the scene, turning it into a scarlet purgatory. Kakaka! The container under the two people's feet trembled, and Yang Ming waved Jessica back, staring at the witch who was pacing gracefully out of the crimson energy. Wanda. Yang Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. The Scarlet Witch, whose real name is Wanda Django Maximoff, has many versions of her origin story. The latest plot in the comics is born by the gypsy Natalia. Because she was born in a wizard family, Wanda has modified since she was a child, probabilistic ability. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because Wanda and his brother participated in the secret experiment of Hydra, the mind gem on Loki's scepter induced Wanda's inherent chaos magic hidden in his body. After defeating Ultron, he joined the Avengers, and then awakened as the Scarlet Witch in Westview Town. Facing such an existence with terrifying potential, Spider Sensing kept warning Yang Ming, who was eager to try, reminding him not to be impulsive. But he really wanted to try how strong the Wanda in front of him could be. Seeing that Yang Ming didn't intend to run away, Wanda slowly stretched out his right hand, and the blood-red energy in his palm controlled all the surrounding objects in midair, with no smile on his face. "Tony's battle armor is in your hands." There was a bloody light in her eyes, and her powerful aura made people unconsciously feel fear. Yang Ming folded his arms and said with a smile, "Actually, the battle armor belongs to me. I'm looking for Tony. You know where he is." Boom! Before Yang Ming could finish speaking, Wanda reached out and manipulated the majestic scarlet energy to surround Yang Ming from all directions. Kakaka! Wherever the crimson energy passed, the containers rattled and were quickly crushed by unknown forces. The crimson energy was about to drown Yang Ming. Yami! Seeing this terrifying scene, Jessica shouted anxiously, about to launch spider webs. "You don't make a move." Yang Ming's indifferent voice came from the crimson energy. Jessica settled down a bit, and retreated. She guessed that Yang Ming didn't dodge this scarlet attack, he must have wanted to do something. Boom! The crimson energy enveloped Yang Ming's body, and there was no movement for a while, only intermittent muffled hums reminding Yang Ming that he was still alive. Wanda, who manipulated the crimson energy, frowned. She bent her fingers slightly, and suddenly increased the force. The crimson energy rolled up, and the container where Yang Ming was located was quickly squeezed into scrap iron. Boom! Suddenly, the crimson energy center finally moved. Bang bang, bang bang bang. As more and more rapid muffled noises came from it, the crushed wreckage of the container exploded out, flying towards Wanda with great force. Boom! As the wind blew, Wanda's expression sank, her arms were wide open, and the crimson energy easily tore the wreckage of the container in half, scattered and fell to the ground. Her vision was blurred for a moment, and a mass of white object exploded in front of her eyes, turning into a white spider web and covering her. Tear! The crimson energy tore through the spider web, and Wanda looked at the crimson energy dissipating not far away, with disbelief in his eyes. On the wreckage of the container, a figure in a red and blue battle suit slowly got up. The battle suit was already damaged, and the useless nano-metal fell to the ground with Yang Ming's movements. Yang Ming's chest was heaving and unsteady, and there was only half of his mask left. He was panting heavily, and his torn battle clothes were soaked in sweat. Ha, ha. Ha. As expected of chaos magic, it is already so terrifying without fully mastering it. Yang Ming took off his mask and grinned. I always wanted to try the limit of the spider suit before, but now it's okay. I finally experienced the sense of exhaustion that middle-aged Peter felt after pulling a train when he was young. Although Wanda in front of me doesn't fully control chaos magic, she is much stronger than Wanda in the movie Age of Ultron, and she is a formidable enemy. What is chaos magic? Wanda frowned. She didn't have any concept of chaos magic, and he was shocked that besides Hulk, there were actually people who could completely rely on their powerful physical strength to resist her superpowers. Simply incredible. Yang Ming glanced at the shield armor that was approaching at a high speed behind him, threw out the card with his fingertips, the space gate disappeared in a flash, and the new armor covered his body. With new power pouring into his body, Yang Ming immediately revived with full blood. Chaos magic is hard to explain to you, but I know what a happy planet is. Goodbye, Wanda. Yang Ming waved his hand and signaled Jessica to rush to the passageway from left to right. Don't go. Wanda frowned, turned the crimson energy into chains and shot at Yang Ming. Puff puff. Yang Ming moved swiftly, and while launching the spider silk to avoid the scarlet chain, the other hand shot the spider web to paralyze Wanda for a short time, and he burrowed into the entrance of the passage. Boom. The crimson energy repulsed the current, and Wanda was covered in crimson energy and then drilled into the entrance of the passage. Seeing the two of them entering the elevator, Wanda turned into a bloody torrent sweeping through the passage, and then entered the elevator. Strange fluctuations invaded the mind, and the bodies of the two became stiff instantly. Jessica. In Miles' laboratory, Jessica is surrounded by nutrition cabins used for cloning. Countless clones wailed in pain in the nutrition cabin, calling out Jessica's name. The wailing sound became more and more severe, and the rhythm of calling Jessica became more and more rapid. Jessica glanced at the clones around, looking at the pain on their faces. Her face was pale. She crazily charged into these nutrition cabins, but for some reason, her power disappeared, and she couldn't save these clones at all. Jessica, I don't want to die. Jessica, save me. Jessica. The cries of the clone filled her mind, and Jessica felt like she was about to collapse. No, I can't save you. I am useless. Jessica cried with her head in her arms, and the tears fell to the ground. She saw herself in a trance. Withered face, red eyes, and purple-red bloodshot cheeks, they are exactly the same as those failed clones. Do not. Jessica hid her face in pain, and extreme fear filled the entire laboratory. In the elevator, Wanda peeped into Jessica's spiritual illusion, frowning. Her fear comes from clones. Who is Miles, who actually possesses this kind of technology? Turning around, she began to spy on Yang Ming's spiritual illusion. What is he doing? Just as Wanda turned her head, her cheeks twitched involuntarily for a moment. I saw Yang Ming smiling cheaply at the wall, as if nothing of fear could affect him. Broken Titan. Wahaha. You fell down before I tried my best. In the messy battlefield, Yang Ming kicked Thor, hammered the third Princess Loki, and laughed arrogantly. The purple sweet potato spirit Thanos trembled in front of him, curling up at his feet like a cat. Captain Butt, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, Wanda, Vision, Spider-Man. All the superheroes are beaten up by him. Hey, why is there still Spider-Man? Do not care. Raising the camera on his chest to take a family portrait of these superheroes, Yang Ming slowly put on the Infinity Gauntlet inlaid with 6 Infinity Gems, and the whole universe trembled. Who is the best in the Civil War in the Alliance? Only me, Yummy. Only my Yang name beats a group. I can fight for a century. Yang Ming put his hips on his hips and laughed. The next moment, countless nebula-like figures emerged from the depths of the universe, and the Tiantian group came out and surrounded Yang Ming. Yang Ming's smile froze. He looked up at these huge figures and squeezed out a sincere smile. Brother, how can I join you? Boom. The nebula collapsed, and the huge palm was about to crush everything. Hey, my trip is finally over. Yang Ming cursed and squatted on the ground, waiting for the end of the trip. At the end of the spiritual illusion, Yang Ming came back to his senses, and when he lowered his head, he saw the turbulent weapon close at hand. Wow, it's so fierce. Boom. With one punch, the murder weapon and Wanda himself were blasted out of the elevator. Yang Ming hugged Jessica and disappeared on the spot. Among the piles of rubble, Wanda rubbed her painful chest and stood up with a dazed face. Shit, how did he wake up? Knock down all the superheroes, and the purple hunk. This guy wouldn't have escaped from a mental hospital, right? Hey, Wanda, swearing is not a good habit. Steve came late with a shield in hand. He glanced at the chaos in the bar and asked, how is it? Can you see clearly? Wanda nodded. See clearly, that idiot is from the multiverse. It's really a multiverse. Steve smiled. I've found Pepper, so I can confirm his identity. Did you give him anything? He asked again. Give it. Wanda rubbed her chest. Her face was full of speechlessness. Being attacked by him is a little painful. Seeing this, Steve turned around in embarrassment. Well, you're not hurt, are you? Thank you for your concern, I am not hurt. Ah, I mean, you're not hurt, are you? Wanda. Captain, I'm looking forward to your fate on Titan. What? Steve froze for a moment. I'm fine, what could happen? Let's go, Ivan Vanki is in trouble. Sneaking into an empty room, Yang Ming placed Jessica on the sofa. On the sofa, Jessica was still not awake. Her arms were folded in one corner, her body was shaking, her face was full of fear, and the corners of her eyes were filled with tears. No, I don't want to die. I can't save you. Woo, I can't save you. Jessica huddled on the sofa and sobbed softly. Yang Ming got up and sighed. Alas, there is no more loving man than I am. Yang Ming sat beside Jessica, gently covered her with a blanket, patted her back slightly, and hummed an unknown nursery rhyme softly. As soon as he saw Jessica, he knew that this guy was not Spider-Man from the multiverse at all. From the beginning, Jessica has intentionally or unintentionally imitated Gwen's actions, habits, and tone. Gwen, who turned into Spider-Woman, will let herself go, and she is usually very serious. If you don't understand a joke, it's very serious. Jessica's imitation stays on the surface, maybe it is also the longing in the heart. She thought that maybe this way, others would like her a little more. The tragedy of the clone seems to have been doomed from the very beginning. Jessica is like a child with an adult body. Children need to have their own world, and no one can treat them as dolls until they grow up. Yang Ming shook his head and laughed. Can I do this kind of thing? When I was a child, I didn't come here like this. Study hard, go to university, work hard, and live a simple life according to the wishes of your parents. But I want to go out and see the world. Unfortunately, it seems that there is no such opportunity. So, take a look at this world. Dawn crept across the sky, and the warm sunlight fell on Yang Ming's sleeping side face through the window. Perhaps, this world is also very good. The sun was shining brightly at noon. Jessica groaned and slowly woke up from her sleep. She got up and half lied on the sofa, looked at the empty room, looked down at the blanket covering her body, and there was a trace of strangeness in her eyes. Yummy, yummy, are you there? She looked around, and when she yelled, there was no answer, so she wanted to get up and pour herself a glass of water. Last night really broke her. Well, it was the nightmare that tormented her badly. Humph. Suddenly, a suppressed muffled hum came from the bathroom, and Jessica subconsciously became vigilant. She looked at the translucent glass door of the bathroom, and vaguely saw a black shadow shaking inside the door, as if shaking regularly. Is that Jessica? In the bathroom, Yang Ming's voice suddenly came, with a strange tone, as if he was gritting his teeth to hold on to something, and he seemed to be panting. Hearing Yang Ming's voice, Jessica breathed a sigh of relief and went straight to the bathroom. Yummy, are you washing up? You seem to be in a bad condition. Jessica was a little worried, so she opened the bathroom door and saw Yang Ming sitting on a small bench with his back facing him, his body trembling, his hands in front of him as if he was messing with something. Yummy, you. Jessica's eyes widened, and she subconsciously covered her mouth and exclaimed. Out of curiosity, she secretly watched a lot of romance movies. Jessica, did you sleep well last night? Yang Ming turned his head, raised the fragment of the power gem in his hand, sweated profusely and said with a smile, "Sorry, I woke you up. I just finished using this thing, and my body is a little bit overwhelmed." Jessica's head was full of black lines. Are you doing this?" Yongming got up and wiped the sweat from his forehead. "What else? What do you think I'm doing?" He looked puzzled. No, I thought you were doing laundry." Jessica turned her head and tapped her toes awkwardly. Yongming rolled his eyes. "It's not so tiring to do laundry." After finishing speaking, he put the power gem fragments into a special nano-metal bag, clutched his waist and staggered away from Jessica. "Hey, it's better to be restrained in this kind of thing, the body is almost overwhelmed." He came to the sofa and sat down while muttering. Jessica scratched her forehead, came to the sofa, and asked curiously, "What are you doing with the power gem fragments?" Yongming smiled. "You don't know, the power gem is one of the infinite gems of the universe, with mysterious and powerful power. The power gem fragments were used to overthrow the tarantula last time. You have seen the power." "So it is." Jessica suddenly realized. "Yummy, I thought you were so strong." "No, it's just generally strong." Yongming waved his hand modestly. Jessica blinked. "But you still haven't answered my question." "Don't worry, press me." Yongming lay on the sofa and reached out his hand to gesture for Jessica. Jessica was speechless, not too happy to beat Yongming's back. "Can we talk now?" She squatted aside, giving Yongming a massage seriously. "Can." Yongming smiled comfortably. "There are only fragments left in the power gem, but its power is still very powerful. The last time I used the power gem, I found that there was an extremely weak gem power remaining in my body. This force slowly transforms my body and continuously increases my strength. So I think that using the power gem every once in a while may allow me to break through the limits of my body and gain stronger strength." Quote. In the movie, Wanda awakens her superpower in advance under the stimulation of the Mind Stone, and the Power Stone also has a similar effect. Using the power gem, the body will become stronger to a certain extent after recovery, so that he does not have to rely on the system's temporary tasks to improve his strength, and travel becomes more free. Jessica's eyes lit up when she heard Yongming's words. "Yummy, can you let me try?" She withdrew her hands and squatted beside Yongming, holding her face in anticipation. Yongming pouted. He turned his face away, too lazy to watch Jessica's shameful cuteness. "No, when you get stronger, you may be able to survive the impact of the power gem." "Stronger?" Jessica raised her hand and looked, "But I feel that my strength has been getting stronger." "What?" Yongming looked back at Jessica. "You said you have been getting stronger." "Yes." Jessica reached out her hand, and Yongming grasped it, testing the opponent's strength. Soon, he frowned and said, "It is indeed a little stronger than before. What happened?" "Clone talent." "No, Miles may have inadvertently created a relatively perfect clone, making Jessica's strength surpass that of Gwen's body. But it is not enough for Jessica to have this kind of talent for becoming stronger." "Is it?" Yongming seemed to think of something, and hurriedly asked, "Since when did you have this feeling?" Jessica thought for a while. "It seems to be after coming to this world. The first time the feeling was not obvious, but the second time I followed you all the way here, the feeling became stronger and stronger." Quote. "Really?" Yongming grinned. "Traveling through the multiverse can indeed make you stronger, but you came to this world because of me, so the increase in strength will not be too obvious at first. The white-haired Otto and the middle-aged Peter from the second time travel, as well as Peter too from the extraordinary world, their strengths all skyrocketed instantly, which is somewhat different from your situation." Quote. Hearing Yongming's explanation, Jessica was a little pleasantly surprised. "There is such a benefit in traveling through the multiverse, I thought only I could." "Hey, Yummy, you have the ability to travel through the multiverse, that's why you're strong?" she suddenly asked curiously. Yongming rubbed his chin. "Haha, it counts. How can you talk about such things casually? It attracts hatred." Jessica's strength is slowly increasing, and Gwen and others should be similar, but because they are not in this world, the growth rate of strength is a little slower than Jessica's. He guessed that the gap would not be too big. As long as they traveled through the multiverse, their strength should be fixed. Even if the other four were not here, they would soon follow Jessica's footsteps. It was only a matter of time. Counting this time, the other two Peters have crossed for the third time. The strength of the two was originally stronger than the other three. Now that they have gained new strength again, their strength has increased simultaneously. It is still impossible for Jessica to surpass them. As for Yang Ming, he didn't realize that his strength increased due to time travel, and this method didn't work for him. It is a good thing for him to improve the strength of the 5 Spider-Man, but it also gives him a sense of urgency. Although the spider suit is convenient, the strength attribute it brings is a fixed value, and the corresponding attribute will not be increased because of the increase in strength of Jessica and others. Therefore, in order to maintain the Alliance's absolute dominance in the Civil War, Yang Ming felt that he should work harder. He took out the car key with 4 circles on it, and said, "Take a break, let's go to Tombs to borrow something first, and then go to Tony." "Do you know where Tony is?" Jessica was taken aback. Of course. Yang Ming played with the car keys in his hand and smiled slightly. Audi R8, Tony's favorite car. It turned out that Steve really knew the whereabouts of Tony Stark. The other party borrowed Wanda's telepathic ability to confirm that Yang Ming had no ill intentions for Stark, so he asked Wanda to give him this thing. Yesterday, Wanda stuffed this thing into his pocket, but he gave him a light slap. "I feel really embarrassed when I think about it." He is now solemnly dispelling the rumors for Wanda, her big dick is completely true. At least the Wanda of this world is not squeezed out. Most importantly, unlike Wanda in that world, Wanda in this world is very young, very indescribable. "Yummy, your smile is so mean," Jessica said suddenly. Yang Ming came back to his senses, and said with a serious face, "Nonsense, this is obviously obscene." "What is obscenity?" "Well, it means appreciation." "Oh, Yummy, your smile is not lewd at all." "I know." Not long after, the two shot back, past the entrance of the small bar, and returned to the underground city again. After a night of repairs, the traces of the battle between Yang Ming and Wanda were wiped out, the underground city was restored to its previous appearance, and the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also left the underground city. "Oh shit, here they are again. Notify the boss quickly. Notify Ivan Vanki to come back." Seeing Yang Ming, a group of armed men exclaimed and quickly fired with guns. Seeing this, Yang Ming unceremoniously launched a spider web, stunning the armed men he encountered to the ground. There are many kinds of spider silk that can be fired by the nanometal suit. Yang Ming didn't use it before, not because he didn't understand, but because he didn't like it enough to be crazy and cool enough. What kind of skill is shooting spider silk in a fight? Spider-Man is about to punch to the flesh, every step is startling. Now, got the clue, showdown, no play. A group of armed men convulsed and fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth, and Toombs quickly surrounded the two with his men. This time, he ordered to fire without hesitation, not daring to challenge Yang List. Da da da. Flames continued to shoot out. Yang Ming let Jessica hide in the corner, while he was covered with nanometal battlesuit and rampaged, the golden spider legs extending from behind kept flying the armed men with guns. In just 3 minutes, Yang Ming's feet were full of armed men who fell to the ground and howled. Shet. Toombs manipulated the flying wings to float in midair. He watched this scene from afar, his face pale, and he turned to run away. Ivan Vanki left, he himself was no match for Yang Ming. Boom. The wings trembled, Toombs didn't notice it for a moment, and the strong wind engulfed his body and plunged into the fine spider silk trap. Brush brush. The spider silk trap quickly wrapped and restrained Toombs' body, and as Jessica's 5 fingers curled slightly, Toombs fell from the air to the ground screaming. Under her intentional control, the fine spider silk that cut iron like mud did not scratch the flight suit. "Hey, Yummy, am I awesome?" Jessica smiled with her belt on her hips, like a child who needs a parent's praise. Yang Ming's cheeks twitched. "What's going on? It feels weird." "Haha, awesome, awesome, you're awesome." In a perfunctory sentence, Yang Ming came to Toombs and looked down at him from a height. "Sorry, Mr. Toombs, I need to borrow your flight suit for fun." Seeing Yang Ming's idea of hacking his flight suit, Toombs gritted his teeth, his eyes full of hatred and resentment. "Guy, you are not allowed to touch my flight suit." "Jessica, turn around and don't look." "Oh." Jessica turned around obediently, and kicked stones on the spot with her hands behind her back. Toombs' screams came from behind her. "No. This is mine. Hundon, I'm going to kill you. Do not. Please, don't take my clothes away." Woo. You can't treat a poor old man like this. I want to call someone. I want to call the police. Soon, Yang Ming signaled Friday to control the nanometal into the Vulture's flight suit, and the flight suit transformed into a red and blue spider suit at a speed visible to the naked eye. The golden spider pattern shimmered, and then gathered on the anti-gravity double-wing device on the back. The nanometal suit is Stark's masterpiece. Dr. Otto once tore off the nanometal on the opponent's chest during the battle with the little spider, and then the nanometal invaded the mechanical arm, causing his own mechanical arm to become the little spider's toy. The same goes for the Vulture flight suit, which is now Yang Ming's spider flight suit. Woo. Toombs huddled naked in the corner, crying with his head in his arms, as miserable as a little match girl. Yang Ming glanced at the other party. Jack. He shouted. I'm here. Jack covered his red and swollen cheeks, and tremblingly came to Yang Ming's side. Ah, boss, tell me, he said with a smile on his face. Yang Ming patted the other party's shoulder, and Jack showed an ugly smile in fear. Boss, you know me well, I don't want to do anything at all. Don't worry, I know. Yang Ming interrupted the other party's nonsense, and said with a smile, Toombs lost his Vulture flight suit, he is just an ordinary person now. So, I appoint you as the new boss. Quote, what? Jack was taken aback for a moment, and then he was ecstatic after making sure he heard it right. Thank you, boss, I will work hard, and you can rest assured that Toombs is entrusted to me. Ha ha ha, I got promoted, mommy, I got promoted. Jack jumped excitedly, sometimes knelt on the ground to thank God, sometimes covered his face and wept, thankful that he had finally survived. Seeing this, Yang Ming lowered his head and pondered. Am I doing something wrong? Jessica walked up to Yang Ming and nodded expressionlessly. Yummy, you were wrong, you shouldn't let an idiot be the leader here. Yang Ming shrugged. Forget it, let's go. Ah. Yang Ming turned around and left with his flight suit in hand. Jessica slowed down and deliberately lagged behind. With a slight movement of the glittering spider silk in her hand, she followed Yang Ming as if nothing had happened. Goodbye, boss. Jack watched the two leave and calmed down, then walked to the sleeping Toombs and grinned. Toombs, you have done so many bad things, go to hell. He kicked Toombs with his feet, and saw Toombs slowly collapse to the ground, a smear of blood quietly spreading around his neck. The sudden change gave Jack a chill, and he swallowed subconsciously. In the elevator, the two were speechless for a moment. Yummy, don't you blame me. Jessica said suddenly. What's your fault? Yang Ming said casually. Jessica pursed her lips. I killed Toombs, Spider-Man can't kill people. You're not Spider-Man. You know. Jessica lowered her head and clasped her fingers, her face flustered. Yang Ming nodded. If you don't kill him, he will die in Jack's hands. We, after all, are not the real Spider-Man. Quote, killing people without the power of a battlesuit doesn't mean they can't. One day, he will have his own power, implement the justice he understands, and no longer be influenced by other people's ideas. The next day, Germany, Neymar Soham. In the night sky, two meteors streaked across the sky and quietly fell on the hills on the edge of a factory in Nemarsom. Boom. In the forest, the energy under the feet of the steel armor slowly converged, the armor fell to the ground, the metal mask bounced off, Jessica stroked her hair, her blue eyes were full of doubts. Yummy, is Tony Stark here? She asked. Beside him, Yang Ming was wearing a nano suit, and the three-color nano wings on his back quickly retracted to the device behind him. Toombs has added an anti-gravity device to the flying wings, and the speed of the flight suit will not be much slower than that of the steel armor. In addition, the nano suit enhances the various functions of the flight suit. Yang Ming can easily keep up with the upper body in the flight suit. Jessica in battle armor. Flying from New York to Nemarsom within 3 hours is far faster than ordinary airliners. Yang Ming looked at the dimly lit factory not far away, and nodded slightly. It should be here. They gave you the car keys, shouldn't we be looking for this car? Why are we here? Yang Ming threw away the car keys in his hand, his expression calm. A car key doesn't contain much information, there are few obvious clues. I guess Steve gave us this thing not to find the car, but to find the place where the car was made. R8 is Tony's favorite sports car, and his place of production is the factory here. Quote. Jessica still didn't understand, why do they go around in circles and tell us directly? Yang Ming shrugged. How do I know the reason? The brain circuits of superheroes have always been unpredictable. Let's go and have a look. The factory at night is very quiet, even a bit bleak. There is no so-called overtime work, only scattered workers deliver goods at night. Tony was defeated and disappeared a year ago. Under Ultron's rule, this world-renowned brand began to decline and was on the verge of bankruptcy. Because Tony has shares in the company, everything about Tony Stark has fallen to dust. Utility room in the corner of the factory. A stubbled, long-haired man reeked of alcohol lay on a pile of smelly discarded parts, and his loud grunting echoed throughout the utility room. Boom! As the wine bottle in his hand fell to the ground, he was awakened instantly by the sound of glass breaking. Do not! The man stood up suddenly. His haggard face was covered with sweat. The clothes that had not been changed for a long time were soaked in sweat, and the circular device emitting white light on his chest could be vaguely seen. He glanced blankly at the utility room, and the strong smell of alcohol on the tip of his nose quickly brought him back to his senses. Call. He let out a breath slowly. It turned out to be a dream. No, it's not a dream. He recalled the battle a year ago again in his mind. Holding his head in a panic, took the wine bottle beside him and poured it into his mouth. He finished blowing a bottle of beer in one breath, and when he reached out again, he found that it was the last bottle. Shet! Cursing secretly, he raised his wrist device. Happy, I want wine. Tony, the company is about to go bankrupt. If you continue like this, you won't even be able to drink beer. Happy's tone was full of helplessness. Can't afford it. Tony smiled bitterly. Can't even afford beer. Tony, listen, there is a new turning point in New York, and we still have a chance. Happy tried to persuade again. Okay, I see. Tony turned off the communication impatiently, and continued to lie on the pile of debris with an irritable face, staring blankly at the cobwebs on the ceiling. Transfer. He couldn't think of any turning point. Ultron was created by himself, and he understands how powerful it is than anyone else. A year ago, he wanted to die with Ultron with the heart of death, but in the end Ultron easily saw through and defeated him. If it wasn't for Steve, he would be dead by now. And Tony smiled wryly and shook his head. Because mechanical soldiers spread all over the world, Ultron wiped out all illegal militants and brought peace to the world. Everyone hopes that Ultron will continue to rule the world. In people's hearts, he is no longer a hero, but a sinner who hinders world peace. Including Steve at the time, he also believed that Tony's approach was wrong, and the world needed Ultron. They don't know what Ultron's next plan is. If they knew, they would not rush to support Ultron as the ruler of the world. But he knows. When creating Ultron, the initial instruction he set for Ultron was to make the world peaceful, absolute peace. The so-called absolute peace, Tony has his own considerations and plans, and the instructions need to be further optimized and carefully revised. But before he could make a move, the self-aware Ultron had escaped from Jarvis's control. He robbed a large amount of vibrating gold to create an invincible steel body, controlled all the mechanical soldiers, and began to implement what he thought would make the world peaceful. Method. Extreme methods at the expense of curbing human freedom and creativity. This is what he does not allow. He tried to make up, he fought, he failed, and in the end he hid here helplessly and paralyzed himself with alcohol. He can't think of any way to defeat Ultron. As long as there is one mechanical soldier alive in the world, Ultron will never really die. Defeating Ultron is already an unrealistic dream. Tony hunched over and sighed deeply. The dark circles under his eyes seemed to get deeper. Squeak. At this moment, the door of the utility room opened slowly, and Tony said without raising his head, "Happy, my wine." Before he finished speaking, the mechanical sound effect engraved in his soul rang in his ears. Crack. Jessica, who was wearing a battle armor, walked into the utility room, opened the metal mask, and revealed a pure and pretty face. "Hi, are you Tony Stark?" Jessica asked with a smile. "What?" Tony was stunned. "Who are you?" "That's my battle armor." He reacted, eyes wary. "You stole my battle armor. What did you do to Happy?" Tony turned his right hand and secretly called his spare armor Happy, that fat uncle. Jessica didn't notice Tony's strangeness, and said with a smile, "That uncle is nice, but a little silly." Boom. Halfway through the conversation, Tony's spare battle armor roared from outside the utility room. The energy pulse beam exploded under Jessica's feet, the gravel flew, and the dust covered Jessica's body. Boom. Immediately afterwards, the gold and red battle armor passed over Jessica, who was submerged in dust, and quickly came behind Tony. The armor quickly separated and wrapped Tony's body. Putting on the battle armor, Tony fired energy from his palm, and at the same time, the energy jet from his feet crashed into the ceiling and disappeared into the utility room. Cough cough. At the door, Jessica waved away the dust in front of her eyes, speechless. Run as soon as you meet, idiot. You are the idiot. Yang Ming heard the sound and flew to the ground. Idiot, seeing you wearing armor, Tony will of course think you're here to find fault. He rolled his eyes and said. Jessica snorted, I haven't worn a battle armor, can I take a few more minutes? She restored the battle armor to the suitcase state, and said angrily, give it back to you. Yang Ming took the suitcase, scratched his forehead, and looked confused. What's the matter? Suddenly I got angry. Because you called me an idiot. Yang Ming, it's over, this guy is looking more and more like a normal woman. Shaking his head, he called out the system interface. Task 1. Find Iron Man. The task is completed, and the Iron Man multiverse is initially connected. Task 2. Recruit a multiverse Iron Man temporarily limited to 1. Seeing this, Yang Ming's cheeks twitched involuntarily. The system does not plan to open hidden missions, nor does it plan to give more mission rewards. Not interesting. Yang Ming pursed his lips, retracted the system interface, and repeated apologies came from behind him. I'm so sorry, Mr. Yami, Tony must have thought you were enemies, so he acted impolitely. The pot-bellied Happy arrived at the scene, panting heavily. Just now Yang Ming found Happy and explained the purpose of this trip. Happy had also seen Yang Ming's commotion in New York, and he was very enthusiastic, so he couldn't help chatting for a while. Unexpectedly, just for a while, Tony almost got into trouble. Happy, what are you doing? Suddenly, energy roared overhead, and Tony popped a weapon from his shoulder and aimed at Yang Ming and Jessica, questioning Happy in a bad tone. It is unforgivable that I have money to eat so fat, but actually lie to me that I have no money to buy beer. Seeing Tony coming back, Happy waved his hand to stop him. No, Tony, stop, they're not enemies. Secretly copy my battle armor, and say it's not an enemy. Tony looked disbelieving. Happy's forehead was sweating, and he was anxious to explain, but Yang Ming stopped him with his hand. Mr. Happy, I think Tony must have drunk too much. I will make him sober. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth raised slightly, and red and blue cards appeared on his fingertips. Seeing this, Happy guessed what the other party wanted to do, hesitated for a while, and decided to let the other party try, and quickly stepped back to the distance. Tony hasn't touched his armor in a year since his defeat, and it's good to keep him moving. Seeing Happy back away, Tony finally felt relieved and boldly fired the shoulder cannon. Boom! The firepower was fully fired, and the miniature artillery shells crisscrossed with the flames. Yang Ming's fingertips quickly turned into a nano suit covering his whole body, and the anti-gravity wings with spider web patterns stretched out from behind soared into the sky. Boom! The flames of the explosion rose from the ground, and with the help of the heat wave, Yang Ming's speed skyrocketed again, approaching Tony in midair in an instant. What? Tony didn't expect Yang Ming's speed to be so fast, and he didn't react for a while. Boom! A solid punch knocked Tony down to the ground. Yang Ming dived, and his anti-gravity wings fell obliquely under the gust of wind. Boom! Like a cannonball bombarding the ground, the sky was full of dust, and energy pulses shot out from time to time. Boom! Bang bang bang! The sound of gold and iron colliding echoed continuously, and sparks flickered violently. Where did this guy come from? The two fought. Facing Yang Ming's fist of steel, Tony seemed to be in a hurry. His bloated body almost couldn't even put on the armor. Naturally, his movements were far less flexible than a year ago. Yang Ming punched the armor on his chest one after another. Tony smashed it down abruptly, and Tony was anxious. Friday, analyze this guy's combat stats. Okay, sir. Beep beep. In just a few seconds, Tony's artificial intelligence quickly analyzed Yang Ming's fighting style, and flaws flashing red were displayed in front of Tony's eyes. Boom! Raising his hand, Tony grabbed Yang Ming's fist with one fist, and the powerful impact made Tony take half a step back. Hey, Buddy, it's my turn. Under the metal mask, Tony showed a long-lost smug smile. Boom. Suddenly, the shadow of the fist flashed away, and Yang Ming punched Tony's mask off, grinning and said, I didn't hear what you said clearly. Tony, what happened? Didi, sir, the other party's speed is too fast to react. What? Boom. Another hand knife fell on Tony's shoulder, and the terrifying force pressed down, and Tony's legs sank into the pit. The nano mask shrank. Yang Ming showed his face and smiled and said, Kung Fu in the world can only be broken quickly. Your Friday probably didn't tell you this sentence. Shet, I can understand Chinese, put away your poor translation. Tony was cursing. The reactor in his chest glowed dazzlingly, about to release a huge amount of energy. Before the energy pulse was condensed, Yang Ming used his hands as claws to slam into the armor around the reactor. Kakaka. The muscles of both arms swelled, and the battle armor was torn apart by Yang Ming's bare hands. Sparks flew, parts splattered, and the light of the reactor slowly converged. No. Tony looked at Yang Ming's hands in disbelief. Even Hulk couldn't dismantle his armor back then. How could this guy? Tony, you're getting weaker. Behind him, Harpy walked over with disappointment in his eyes. After wasting a year, the current Tony can't control the armor perfectly, let alone Ultron's opponent. Happy. Tony sighed subconsciously with a complicated expression. I lost again. His body relaxed, his body was hunched over, and the brilliance in his eyes was gone. Then do you want to win? Yang Ming asked. Who wins? Ultron. Tony shook his head, his face full of bitterness. I can't win at all. He now believes that the man in front of him is not an enemy, but a superhero who came to him to cooperate and fight against Ultron's rule. He didn't know when such a person appeared, and he was also amazed at the strength of the other party. But relying on them alone, they can't win Ultron at all. In this regard, he has no hope. Looking at the decadent Tony, Yang Ming narrowed his eyes and turned to look at Jessica. Jessica. Receiving a signal, Jessica nodded. Understood. After speaking, she launched the spider silk to put the suitcase in her hand, opened the battle armor and attached to her body, and the flames bloomed under her feet and soared into the sky. What are you going to do? Tony asked. Yang Ming looked at the distant night sky with his hands behind his back, but didn't answer. Not long after, the fire flashed across the sky, and Jessica was followed by densely packed mechanical soldiers, numbering as many as 1,000. What on earth are you going to do? Seeing these mechanical soldiers, deep fear appeared in Tony's eyes, and the scene of the battle from a year ago flashed again in his mind. Run, we can't win. Tony clenched his fists tightly, his body trembling, and the fear in his eyes grew stronger. Yang Ming glanced at Tony, who was caught in a demon, and the palm of his hand gradually filled with a dazzling purple light. Can't win. Sorry, I don't understand. Quote. Raising the right hand flooded with purple light, an incomparable powerful force swept away, and the ground trembled endlessly. Kakaka. The mysterious power of the gem was poured into Yang Ming's body, and the power was released using the physical body as a medium. The purple halo quickly filled the air, and the broken stones on the ground floated in the air where it passed, and then collapsed in this violent force, for dust. Behind Yang Ming, Tony and Happy were overwhelmed by this powerful force. Their faces were full of shock, and they subconsciously took a few steps back, their hearts beating faster and faster, their eyes filled with anticipation, curiosity, and awe. Happy, I have a premonition. Tony said intently. Happy nodded. Yes, I also had a premonition. What do you foresee? I sensed what you sensed. I don't know if your premonition is the same as mine. Tony, what exactly did you expect? I don't know, that feeling, can't be said, you know. Tony, are you kidding me? Obviously not. The two were unaware of their nonsense. Boom. The next moment, as the ground trembled, the ground under Yang Ming's feet exploded. The ear-piercing roar erupted suddenly, and the two covered their ears in pain, watching Yang Ming turn into a purple meteor soaring into the sky. Meteors streaked across the night sky and pierced the sky. Boom. There was a loud noise in the sky, and the purple meteor passed through the army of mechanical soldiers. The intense purple light released huge energy in the center of the army. The purple shock wave spread rapidly in all directions, covering all the mechanical soldiers, and countless explosions spread from it. The gorgeous purple light and the flames blended together, instantly illuminating the night sky of the entire city. Zzz. The electricity in the city was severely short-circuited due to the power of gems, and all monitoring equipment suddenly failed, and people finally ushered in a short-lived freedom. Mum, look, there are fireworks. The children ran to the street one after another, pointing to the splendor in the sky and smiling brightly. This is the real smile, a warm smile, a human smile. Zzz. The satellite monitoring screen flickered for a while, and in the empty room, the screen projected in the eyes of the tall silver mechanical warrior stopped abruptly. Why are they laughing when they know there is a fight going on? Are they still unwilling to accept this absolutely peaceful world? Isn't such a world good? I was wrong. No, I was right. But their smiles are really happy. The mechanical warrior groaned. The blue light in his eyes dimmed slightly, and his tone was full of loss and helplessness. Suddenly, the blue light in the mechanical soldier's left eye disappeared, and at the same time as a strange orange light lit up, the movements of the mechanical soldiers in the whole world froze for a moment. Ao Chuang, you were wrong. In fact, what human beings really desire is freedom. The voice in his head persuaded. Ultron roared angrily. No, I want to prove that I am right. The peaceful world that mankind has always longed for will be created by myself. I will not lose, dear father. Neymar Soam. The sun is rising, and the warm sunlight shines on the earth through a faint purple halo. The world has returned to its original appearance again, without any change. It is people who change. In the messy mechanical ruins, white smoke filled the air. Ta. Tony came to the ruins, looked at the back of the man in front of him. His eyes became firm, sweeping away the decadence of last night. May I know your name? He asked. My name is Yang Ming. Yummy, you're right, we can win. Yang Ming turned around and said with a smile, I can win, I understand. Me too. Tony laughed. Puff. Suddenly, Jessica got out of the mechanical ruins in embarrassment, her face covered in black and gray. She gritted her teeth and said word by word, Yeah. Am I? Can you remind me before you do it? I almost died. Yang Ming's face became stiff. Oh, sorry, I didn't notice you. I'm really sorry, are you okay? He hurried to pull Jessica out of the rubble. HMPH, Yami, I hate you to death. I'm sorry, hey, don't do it. I used the gem fragments twice in one day, and my body is almost overwhelmed. Tony thought I couldn't do it when he saw it. I care about you. 3 days later, on a calm sea, a cruise ship braved the wind and waves. On the deck, the sea breeze is howling. Yang Ming was wearing a floral shirt and beach pants, and was lying leisurely on the deck basking in the sun wearing sunglasses. Suck it. Reaching out to pick up the juice beside him and taking a sip, Yang Ming smashed his mouth and looked at Tony, who was also in a beach suit beside him. Aren't you out of money? How did you buy this cruise ship? Tony spread his hands and smiled. Money is something that you can find if you just look for it. I don't even know how much money I have, how could that idiot Happy know? Quote. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth twitched. No wonder the factory doesn't want it, I like your willfulness the most. Tony said. Since you wiped out most of the mechanical soldiers there will be agents wandering around the factory every day, and they can't stay any longer. Where are we going then? New York. Yang Ming smiled. Are you finally willing to go back? Of course, Pepper and Sophie are waiting for me. It's not easy for you to still think of your wife and children. Yang Ming looked contemptuously. Tony said with a guilty face. Steve will take care of them, I trust him. Staying in New York would only bring infinite troubles and disasters to his relatives. Only by staying away from them would they have a chance to wait until his return. By the way, Tony, I have a team, the Avengers, you should have heard of it. Yang Ming said suddenly. Tony was surprised. Yami, you said you were from the multiverse, and your world also has the Avengers. Haha, I'm so humble, I'm the only leader of the Avengers. Yang Ming waved his hand modestly. The leader is the big brother. He added. Tony was full of curiosity. It's unbelievable that you have the absolute right to speak in the League. You must know that in the Alliance, there are more than one or two powerful people. They can cooperate when a crisis comes, but they usually play their own way. Sometimes there are disagreements and civil strife. It is impossible to have an absolute right to speak. Yang Ming shrugged, then smiled. So, do you want to join? Tony didn't reply right away, but said, can I meet your members first? If a team has only one strong player, it is doomed to have no future. He needs to see the Avengers from another world before he will consider joining. Yang Ming had no reason to refuse Tony's request. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand slightly, and 4 cards slowly emerged. The gray dimension wall suddenly appeared from the void, and the sea breeze blew past, but there was no one around. Yang Ming. Haha, how embarrassing. Hey, Yami. I'm shopping with Mary, there are too many people. Yami, I'm in class, and the professor keeps staring at me, I can't make it through. Hey, Yami, I'm working part-time, can you lend me some money? Yami, there's a fire-breathing guy in New York, I just beat him, his clothes were burnt. The chattering voices of 4 people came from the card. Yang Ming patted his forehead, and curled his lips helplessly at Tony. Sorry, they're busy. Tony glanced at the card in Yang Ming's hand, his brows and eyes flashed strangely, and then he said with a smile, it's okay, I agree to join your team. Yang Ming, what happened, why did you suddenly agree? Haha, welcome, warm welcome. Yang Ming got up, turned around and shouted, Jessica, come and welcome our new member. No, I want to fish. Yang Ming, haha, children are ignorant, don't mind. Yang Ming glared at Jessica, turned his head and smiled awkwardly, and called out the system interface at the same time. Recruiting Tony Stark, Multi-Avengers members +1, reward card booster X1. Card booster upgradable, place system cards, which can increase the card usage effect by 10%. Yang Ming's eyes lit up, and the card booster seemed interesting. Click to receive the reward, and the system prompts in your ears. Ding, please choose a carrier for the card booster. Carrier. Yang Ming was taken aback, the system equipment still needs to prepare a carrier. What's the difference between this and online shopping without free shipping, eating instant noodles without seasoning packets, and Sister Bauer digging holes and not burying people? Ding, please choose a carrier. Prompted by the system, Yang Ming casually took off the camera hanging from his neck and said, come on, that's all. Yami, do you want to take a photo with me? Tony straightens his newly trimmed hair. By the way, just wait for me, I'll go shave. With that said, Tony turned and left under Yang Ming's foolish eyes. The carrier of the card amplifier is determined, and the low light covers the camera. After a few seconds, the light dissipated, and a brand new black camera appeared in Yang Ming's hands. I saw that the camera, which was originally small, shrunk down a circle again, and the lens was almost parallel to the body, no longer protruding as before. With the lens as the center, 6 spider logos of different colors are engraved on the surrounding body, representing 6 different sets of spider suits. Yang Ming looked at the amplifier in his hand and subconsciously scratched his forehead. This thing looks familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere. Yummy, I've done it, come on. At this time, Tony tidied up and came back. He came to the edge of the deck, looked for a good angle, and smiled at Yang Ming as compared to Scissorhands. The corner of Yang Ming's mouth twitched, and he casually took a picture of this guy. Crack. Well, you can take pictures normally, and the picture quality is not bad. This wave is not a loss. Yummy, here's another one. Tony couldn't finish it. Yang Ming rolled his eyes. You are so handsome, one picture is enough. Haha, Yami has eyes, and Pepper just likes my handsome face. Okay, let's get down to business. How is my armor repaired? Oh, yes, almost forgot. Tony took Yang Ming to the cabin and opened the armor room. Yummy, your portable armor is so similar to the one I designed. With a look of admiration, Tony reached out and fiddled with the complicated virtual mechanical structure diagram. And your battle armor also uses nanotechnology. This is something I have been planning to study, but it was delayed because of Ultron's affairs. Yang Ming was thoughtful. I can let you refer to the nanotechnology. You should be able to design an extremely complex nano armor. Hearing that nanotechnology can be referred to, Tony was very moved. Oh, Yami, you are such a good captain, thank you so much. It's okay, we are all friends. Yang Ming said with a guilty smile. This thing was originally Tony's, but it was just another Tony. Giving nanotechnology to the other party can be regarded as returning to the original owner. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.